Chapter 1148. In the new month, those with guaranteed monthly tickets will be pushed up. Rumble. The 5 supreme divine artifacts separated at the same time. The Kingdom of Eternity, the Black Heavenly Treasure Box, the Heavenly Star Map, and the 1,000 green lotus swords occupied the 4 corners, trapping the demon court in the middle. However, the fierce battle also caused considerable damage to the 4 supreme divine artifacts. The Black Heavenly Treasure Box's divine light dimmed, and there were faint scars on it. The stars in the Heavenly Star Map dimmed, and even the stars hanging on the star tree were scarce. The countless lotuses of the 1,000 green lotus swords drifted away, and when it rotated, it seemed a little stiff. Only the Kingdom of Eternity remained high and mighty. It exuded a supreme aura. The demon court was surrounded in the middle. In the entire demon court, tiny cracks could be faintly seen on the surface of the city. They were densely distributed over a large area, and each of these cracks looked ferocious and terrifying. Under the joint attack of the 4 supreme divine artifacts, it suffered considerable damage for the first time. Even the cultivators and demons in the ancient city were affected, and many of them were killed or injured. The divine light that flowed on the ancient city was unusually dim. The extreme Emperor Jade Archive was madly devouring the boundless chaos energy, pouring it into the cracks in an attempt to repair the damage as quickly as possible. Good. What a terrifying battle. Even peerless cultivators wouldn't be able to withstand that level of battle. 4 paragon divine weapons joined hands to attack the soaring firmament demon court, but they didn't suffer much damage. Only a few cracks appeared. The soaring firmament demon court was terrifying. They didn't know what materials they were made of. It's too strong and too strong. I'm afraid the demon emperor will not be able to escape this time. The 4 supreme divine artifacts have completely sealed off the void. Even a fly cannot escape. No matter where they went, there was no chance of survival. This time, the demon clan was really going to be exterminated. However, it seems like there will be other changes. The demon emperor is too difficult to predict. The cultivators were secretly speechless. They could not take their eyes off a battle of this level, for fear that they would miss a moment. That would be a regret for the rest of their lives. Good. 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 Very good. Sakra sat upright on the soaring sky throne. His majestic body didn't move as he looked at the cracks that appeared on the ancient city. His mouth was filled with majesty as he spat out a cold sentence. However, merely 4 supreme divine weapons might not be able to suppress this emperor. Initially, Your Majesty was going to bring my demon race away from the purple gold mainland. However, I didn't expect you humans to be so arrogant. Do you really think that Your Majesty is made of paper? Today, before I leave, I shall teach you humans a painful lesson. Looking down on the heavens, he suddenly raised his left hand and shouted in his heart, "Cleanse with the blood of the Emperor, combine with the tombstones, merge with my arm, and control the universe." Rumble. In his arm, the tombstone that had been sleeping was cleansed by the steaming hot sovereign blood. Immediately, it woke up. This was the sovereign blood of a half-step sovereign. Every drop contained unimaginable power. On the spot, countless mysterious runes appeared on the tombstone, and the figures of countless gods and demons flashed on the tombstone. Crack. A crisp sound came from the tombstone, and countless tiny cracks appeared without any warning. In an instant, they covered the entire tombstone. The tombstone suddenly collapsed, turning into billions of fragments of the same size. They quickly merged into the entire arm, entering every inch of flesh. On the skin of his left arm, countless terrifying figures of gods and demons using various combat skills appeared. Vast power flowed wildly in his arm, and the entire arm turned into a purple gold glaze, as if it was made of crystals. Boom. Boom. Di Shitian suddenly stood up from the throne. As he stood up, it was as if a 10,000-foot-tall mountain had suddenly grown from the ground. His entire sovereign body expanded wildly, and in the blink of an eye, it had expanded to a terrifying height of 14,000 feet. He was indomitable. Behind his head, his black hair danced wildly, erupting with boundless arrogance. Every strand of hair was scarier than a treasure. Glancing at the 4 supreme divine weapons coldly, his gaze landed on the cosmic star map as he shouted, trash hiding in the cosmic star map. I once said that no matter how high you go, you won't be able to escape with your lives. Today, I will let you know that the words of Sacra Heavens, are the will of the heavens. My words are the imperial edict. Extreme Emperor Creation Palm, Infinite Void. His left hand blasted out towards the heavenly cycle star map. In his hand, countless voids flashed, and within the voids, countless calamities were brewing. Among them, countless gods and demons merged. As he blasted out his palm, all of them were terrifying calamities. There would never be a day of rest. It's impossible to kill us. Endless constellations, kill the shifter emperor. The faces of the 9 supremes in the heavenly cycle star map changed drastically. However, they immediately became rather ferocious. They roared and activated the power of the heavenly cycle star map with all their might. Constellations formed one after another. Wolves, snakes, bulls, dragons, and so on. The 28 constellations formed one after another. Each of them had the terrifying battle strength of a half-step sovereign. They roared and blasted towards the huge palm. It was like a long river of constellations. Bang, bang, bang. However, as soon as these constellations touched the huge palm, they were all sucked into the palm. Within the voids, they were blasted apart by countless gods and demons. They were ground into dust. Countless constellations crumbled under the palm. They were turned into dust. It blasted directly onto the bodies of the 9 supremes. Juntian Pagoda, block it for me. Sun God Banner, kill the shifter emperor. The 9 supremes roared one after another. They displayed their trump cards and unleashed all of their strength. However, those treasures were like eggs when they blasted onto the palm. They were blasted apart one after another. There wasn't even the slightest bit of resistance. Tyrannical. It was not an ordinary kind of tyrannical. The left arm fused with the tombstone. Its power was almost at an unimaginable level. Rumble. Countless constellations crumbled. It grabbed towards the 9 supremes and immediately grabbed all of them in its hand. It was like pinching a few bedbugs. It grabbed them domineeringly in its hand. Clowns, how dare you find trouble with me? Today, I will crush you to death. Your divine souls will be suppressed in the nether prison and will sink forever. Bang, bang, bang. After that, it didn't care about the consequences at all. It exerted force in its hand. On the spot, there were a few shrill screams. The 9 supremes exploded on the spot. Their flesh and blood splattered as they were crushed into meat paste. The scene was almost bloody and tragic to the extreme. Moreover, the 9 divine souls were swallowed into its stomach. They were suppressed in the nether prison. The series of actions was unbelievably fast. It didn't even give the other supreme divine artifacts a chance to react. It killed the 9 supremes on the spot just like that. The brutality and viciousness of his methods had already reached the point of no return. Moreover, after crushing the 9 supremes, it reached out and grabbed the star map in its hand. It grabbed the Lingxiao throne and suppressed the star map under the throne. How dare you? Damn it! How dare you? This scene almost made all the human race supremes vomit blood on the spot. Their guts were torn apart as they roared crazily. The 1,000-sword green lotus charged over. This collision was about to destroy heaven and earth. In the black sky treasure box, 9 battle swords were unsheathed at the same time. With a shocking sword power, they slashed down to kill the monster emperor. In the kingdom of eternity, 9 divine rings flew up at the same time. Wherever they went, the void was frozen. They were imprisoned by the invisible power of an instant and the power of eternity. The 3 supreme divine artifacts were completely unleashed. They wanted to suppress the monster emperor. Good timing. Di Shitian's black hair danced wildly. Looking at the supreme divine artifacts, he clenched his fist and punched towards the 1,000-sword green lotus. Rumble. The 1,000-sword green lotus was hit by the punch. Countless green lotus sword chi swept out, covering the sky and earth. It was about to cut Di Shitian's arm into pieces. However, it was slightly shaken by Di Shitian. On his arm, billions of divine demons roared and unleashed countless mysterious battle techniques, shattering the void. When it hit the green lotus was dented with a clear fist mark. It was smashed hundreds of millions of miles away. Bang! Di Shitian turned his fist. His fist was like a blacksmith's hammer as it smashed heavily on the 9 battle swords. The vast force crushed the power on the battle swords. Crack! Cracks flashed continuously, covering the body of the battle swords as if they would shatter at any time. Piercing into the ground, countless terrifying cracks appeared on the ground, spurting out endless amounts of lava. Break! Then, he punched towards the 9 divine rings. The void that was originally frozen by the divine rings was almost destroyed by the fist. It shattered and was sent flying backward on the spot. Every punch caused the void to shatter and be annihilated. Countless black holes flashed continuously. Stars swayed and countless divine lights disappeared. There was a terrifying murderous sound. Those who offend the demon clan will be killed no matter how far away they are. Di Shitian scanned the surroundings coldly. His gaze was so sharp that almost no cultivator could look him in the eye. His left hand tore at the void. One crack. A huge crack was torn open. Demon Court shook and was about to enter the crack. Damn it, don't even think about escaping. Waves of exasperated roars came from the void. Not far away, supreme divine artifacts rushed out at the same time and bombarded Demon Court. They wanted to stop Demon Court from leaving. Rumble. However, just as all the attacks were about to arrive, a fist landed heavily on all the attacks. The void was destroyed. Demon Court instantly broke through the air. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. Only the words "those who offend the demon clan will be killed no matter how far away they are" still echoed in the void for a long time. Chase after it. That damned demon emperor stole the star map. We must not let him go. Even if we have to pay a high price, we must kill the demon emperor. An angry roar came from the void. There's no need to chase after it. Just as all the supreme divine artifacts were about to chase after it, a voice stopped all the divine artifacts. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1150. Welcome to the first update. Today, the brothers are doing their best. The monthly votes are actually about to rush up to the monthly votes ranking. Friends who still have votes, throw in a few and see if you can rush up to the ranking. If you can, then I will be very busy this month. Hey, Tao Ancestor, why don't you let us go after him? The demonic emperor killed 9 of our human race's almighties and took away the heavenly cycle star map. Letting him go is not only a humiliation to our human race, but it will also affect the plan that we have been planning for countless years. We must not let the demonic emperor escape so easily. An exasperated roar came from within the 1,000-sword green lotus. The 1,000-sword green lotus was hit by Di Shitian's punch. Countless cracks appeared on the surface of the lotus, as if it would collapse at any time. It was extremely terrifying. That's right. Even if we have to pay a high price, we must kill the demonic emperor. Otherwise, our human race's prestige will be completely destroyed. Tao Ancestor, why are you stopping us? An angry roar came from within the black heavenly treasure box. Enough. The demonic emperor has already entered the chaos. There is no need to chase after him. Come back with me. The one who had appeared was Taishang Daozu, who was riding a green bull. There was no expression on his face, and there was not a trace of emotion. He only calmly spat out a sentence. Although his words seemed ordinary, there was an unquestionable majesty in them. Although they were extremely unwilling, in the face of Taishang Daozu's unwavering expression, many of the supreme divine weapons disappeared. Humph. After all the divine artifacts left, the Grand Supreme Tao Ancestor looked up at the void. His gaze was unusually deep, but he let out a rare cold snort. Faintly, there seemed to be some fear. Riding on the green bull, he disappeared. In the void, there was a pair of golden eyes silently watching. After the Grand Supreme Tao Ancestor left, it gradually disappeared. In the eyes of the All Heavens cultivators, this was something that even their spiritual souls would jump out of their bodies. Just now, from the moment Sakura made his move, the series of actions made everyone feel overwhelmed on the spot, unable to react in time. It was only when everything was over that they gradually regained their senses. But in his heart, it was as if countless raging waves were rolling. My God! Good, oh good! What a terrifying Yarrow Emperor! Once he goes all out, he's so ridiculously strong. One palm strike, one palm strike, one palm strike, he pierced through the star map, grabbed 9 experts like chickens, and crushed them to death. 9, that was 9 unparalleled almighties. In his hands, he didn't even have the strength to resist. This is simply too unbelievable. Tyrannical, tyrannical, simply tyrannical to the extreme. When the demon sovereign gets angry, it's no small matter. He smashed a supreme divine artifact with one punch. Could it be that the demon sovereign already has the battle prowess of a dominator? The human race has thoroughly lost face this time. Not only were the 9 supremes killed, even the star map was snatched away. It's too scary. Serves them right. The demon race has already announced that they are about to leave the purple gold continent and enter the chaos. The humans are simply asking for trouble by provoking them at this time. Did he really think that the demon race would allow others to bully and humiliate them? Now, he had really lost his army after accompanying his wife. However, did the demon sovereign really lead the demon race into the chaos? After witnessing the end of the battle, the Almighties left the heaven realm one after another. News about the battle spread throughout the great thousand world in an instant, and countless races received accurate information. Especially in that battle, there were Almighties who directly used an image-retaining pearl to record the battle scene. When the news spread, it shocked countless Almighties. In the purple gold continent, in the Lee clan's territory, in the Lee clan's divine palace, several rather burly Almighties sat inside. On the main seat, there was a middle-aged man whose appearance could not be seen clearly. In the palace, a Almighty was quickly reporting something. The surrounding Almighties also nodded as they listened. The demon sovereign finally left the purple gold continent with the demon court. It's good that they left. Now, the future of the origin world in the purple gold continent is unknown. After the 3 rolls and 1 roll, it will be the annihilation tide. Under the calm surface, there are stormy waves that are enough to destroy thousands of cultivators. Although the demon sovereign might return after the annihilation tide, at least this period of buffer is enough to bring the demon race countless benefits. In the chaos, there are countless opportunities. A almighty sighed. Fortunately, back then, Tu Xing's son and Tu Ling were on good terms with the demon sovereign. They allowed our Li clan to obtain a land deed in the demon court. We even used a considerable amount of wealth to buy 1/3 of the earth element space in the 129,600 spaces. Many young descendants have been moved in, and it's enough to reproduce and continue our clan. Another almighty also muttered to himself. Among the 3 supreme elders, 2 of them have shown signs of the 5 decay of heaven and man. The 2 supreme elders want to choose 2 young talents from the clan, the peerless geniuses, to inject their lifetime's cultivation into the bodies of their juniors through the enlightenment divine ability. I personally suggest that these 2 opportunities should be given to Tu Xing's son and Tu Ling. Another almighty suggested. The 5 decay of the celestial being had always been a sharp sword hanging over the heads of all peerless powerhouses. It could fall at any time. Once it reached a certain level, if one did not make any progress, there would be signs of the 5 decay of the celestial being. At this time, if one still did not have the confidence to overcome it, they would generally look for a successor to pass on their orthodoxy. They would even give up their cultivation base to help their juniors through enlightenment. And the disciples who received the enlightenment divine ability would often be able to break through to the almighty level in an extremely short period of time. In the divine palace of the 3-eyed god clan, the demon emperor actually caused havoc in the human clan's heaven realm. Not only did he fight against several supreme divine artifacts alone, he also seized the star map and pinched 9 almighty beings to death. He severely damaged several divine artifacts. What a terrifying growth rate! A dignified voice echoed in the palace. With the demon emperor's ability, it's impossible for him to break through to the dominator level directly. Once he breaks through to the dominator level, The signs will be even more obvious and earth-shattering than when he breaks through to the almighty level. If that's the case, the Demon Emperor's battle prowess must be due to some powerful secret technique. However, the Demon Emperor rashly moved the demon court into the chaos. He might not be able to find any benefits. Although there are opportunities in the chaos, it's also full of danger. Even almighty beings might be destroyed at any time if they enter the chaos. In his words, there was a hint of disdain for Di Shitian's actions. In an inexplicably dilapidated palace in the purple gold continent, an old man raised his eyes and looked at the void. There seemed to be an indescribable expression on his face. There was relief, surprise, regret, hesitation, and a complicated expression. After a long time, he sighed and said, "Leaving the Zijin continent at this moment can be considered a brilliant move of retreating in order to advance. It can allow the demon clan to temporarily leave the quagmire that is the Zijin continent and avoid the eyes of other clans. It can temporarily leave the cusp of the storm to the human clan to deal with everything. When the demon gods invade, no cultivator will blame them for not going forward to resist the demon gods and pushing the human clan to the forefront. Let the human clan experience what the demon clan felt back then." There was praise in his voice. However, there was still some complexity in it. However, the chaos is not peaceful. There are no coordinates and no direction. Once you enter the chaos, you will start to lose your way. Although the primordial demon gods born in the chaos can't enter the origin world, they are extremely tyrannical existences in the chaos. There are even more traps in the chaos that can easily destroy almighty beings. Some demon gods are even powerful enough to split open the heavens and earth. The chaos is like an ocean, and the demon gods are like giant crocodiles. Cultivators are like small fish and shrimp when they enter. Whether you can obtain the opportunity or not depends on the Demon Emperor's luck. There was an inexplicable charm in his words. Not only were there opportunities in the chaos, there were also endless dangers. The chaos world was vast and boundless. It nurtured everything. The origin world and the demon god continent were two worlds that existed in the chaos. The chaos was great and filled with universal love. At this moment, in the depths of the primal chaos, there was a world wrapped in 7 colors. Through the barrier, one could see that it was a vast and boundless continent. On the continent, there were many small islands that were constantly orbiting around it. Those small islands looked as vast as a world. Boundless vitality. At this moment, a huge crack suddenly appeared at the edge of the 7-colored barrier. Once this crack appeared, a vast amount of chaos chi poured in continuously. At the same time, a stream of light shuttled out of the crack. It was a vast and majestic ancient city. There were no walls in the ancient city. There were only 4 ancient heavenly gates standing in 4 directions. Although there were no walls, once one entered the chaos, the endless chaos chi did not directly rush into the city and corrode and assimilate the living beings in the city. Instead, it was directly rejected by the 4 heavenly gates. There was no way to enter the ancient city. As soon as one approached, one would immediately be swallowed by the 4 heavenly gates. Rumble. The countless cracks that appeared in the ancient city were quickly mended under the nourishment of the chaos chi. Broken Tao patterns reformed one after another. Ordinary treasures would either be swallowed by the chaos chi or corroded as soon as they fell into the chaos. However, when the demon court entered, they felt like a fish in water. They were not afraid of the chaos chi at all. The Imperial Jade Archive was wildly swallowing the chaos chi. Every time it swallowed a trace, the Tao patterns on the Jade Archive would become even more mysterious. The chaos chi has finally entered the chaos chi. Sakura sat on the numinous sky throne, suppressing the star map. Outside the numinous sky demon court, one could see that the void outside the city was completely a kind of grey gas, without any light at all. One could not see the direction or the path. It was as if one was lost in the darkness. The surroundings were unusually lonely. Outside the city, there was no sound at all. The chaos chi. This was the chaos chi. What a domineering tombstone. Di Shitian forced out all the fragments of the map that had fused into his left arm and condensed them into a tombstone again. However, on his arm, One could see cracks that looked like porcelain. One could vaguely see flesh and blood. There was no doubt that if this continued, his entire arm might collapse on the spot. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1151. My brothers are very supportive, and I'm also motivated to write. Continue writing the third chapter. Fortunately, you escaped from the celestial realm in time and entered the chaos. Otherwise, your entire left arm would have been reduced to dust if you continued fighting with those supreme artifacts of the humans. Fortunately, you're already a half-step ruler. If it were before, your arm would have been destroyed. Once it was destroyed, the indestructible Emperor talisman would collapse. The damage to you would be too great. Ming also secretly exhaled and sighed. In my opinion, this tombstone needs to be broken through to the sovereign rank at the very least before you can completely refine it into one with your body and control this monstrous power. Otherwise, borrowing power like this will be an extremely heavy burden on your body. Sovereign. Di Shitian looked at the chaos outside with a thoughtful look in his eyes. It was abnormally deep. By the way, lunatic emperor, you'll only return after the annihilation tide so that the humans can resist the invasion of the demon gods. However, what about the bet you made with true Lord Ku Rong back then? If that guy really hides in one place for a few hundred years, we'll still lose the bet when we return. Do we really have to return all the wealth we plundered from Ku Rong to him? Wouldn't that be letting him off too easily? Nether cried out in a strange and fierce voice. He knew that Di Shitian was always a man of his word. When he made the bet, he didn't use any of the carnate spirit treasures he obtained from Ku Rong. Even the cloud-gathering banner was left untouched. Otherwise, it would have been integrated into the demon court long ago. He was waiting for the day when the winner of the bet would be decided. Hehe, you're so stupid. Big Brother must have thought of a countermeasure long ago. Ku Rong won't be able to escape from Big Brother. Hwana giggled and looked at Dark with disdain. Her eyes were full of cunning. Dark felt a chill in his heart when he saw that. He quickly hid far away. Looking for Ku Rong is very difficult for other people. However, for me, it is not difficult at all. After 60 years, I'll naturally have a way to convince him. Submit to the demon court. Sakura had a confident look as he muttered to himself irresolutely. Husband, are you all right? At this moment, seeing that they had entered the chaos, Chen Shi immediately stood up and looked at Di Shitian worriedly. The foundation of the human race is really deep. However, they are also shameless enough to use so many divine artifacts to besiege my husband. Once Tian Xiong becomes a peerless expert, I will definitely ask the human race for advice. Su Tianxiang's face was full of worry as she snorted coldly. Little sister once heard from father that in ancient times, the human clan was not so powerful. When they rebelled against the demon clan, it was often several cultivators besieging a powerful demon clan figure. Now it seems that I was right, Kotomi also said with extreme disgust. The foundation of the human race is really extraordinary. If each divine artifact requires 9 peerless experts to activate, then the number of powerful demons in the human race must have reached a terrifying level. The human race is indeed the race that is best at hiding their strength, Mai Xin said thoughtfully as she tapped her forehead with her slender finger. The human race usually did not show their strength, but when they did, they could scare the cultivators of other races to death on the spot. It's okay. Now that we have left the chaos, it's time for the world to open up. Moreover, the spoils of war this time are not bad. After indicating that he was not injured, Di Shitian waved his hand and grabbed the heavenly cycle star map that was suppressed under the Lingxiao throne. Rumble. Now that the heavenly cycle star chart was put away, it was like a picture scroll. However, it seemed a little broken. Inside it was a mysterious star map. As soon as it came out from under the Lingxiao throne, it immediately pulled out a ray of starlight, trying to break through the demon court and enter the chaos. Come back. Seeing this, Di Shitian reached out his hand and casually touched the star map. The map seemed to have broken through hundreds of millions of miles in an instant, but it seemed as if it had never moved at all. When he reached out, He had already grabbed the ancient map in his hand. No matter how it moved, it could not escape from his hand. "What an impressive cosmic star diagram," he exclaimed. "It's actually a complete understanding of the cosmic star formation. It contains all the star arts, and it even has the ancient star tree as the source of vital energy. Countless souls are pouring into the star tree and praying to it. It provides an endless amount of faith power. It nurtures the stars. It is an extreme supreme artifact that has reached the peak. Unfortunately, there is no possibility of it becoming immortal." Di Shitian's eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. With a glance at the scroll, he immediately understood the various mysteries of the heavenly cycle star map. Haha, if such a peak supreme artifact star map is integrated into the demon court, it might be able to take the final step and enter the immortal realm. Ming shouted excitedly. Stupid prison guard, although the heavenly cycle star map is a peak supreme artifact, it doesn't have many great dows. If it is integrated into the demon court, it will only be able to push it to half immortal. If it wants to become an immortal artifact, it will need more great dows to be perfected or even perfected. Juana blinked and giggled as she counted with her fingers. The key to becoming an immortal artifact was the number of great dows it had. Without enough great dows to support the world, it would not become immortal and become an existence on the same level as the purple gold continent and the demon god continent. Every great dow was like a heavenly pillar. An immortal artifact would definitely make the world boundless. If there were fewer heavenly pillars, the world would not be able to support it, and it would collapse. Even if it was upgraded, it would crumble. A divine artifact would crumble. It wasn't as if 2 or 3 supreme artifacts could be fused together to become an immortal artifact. Immortality was a threshold. Integrate the heavenly cycle star map into the demon court. Integrate the scale of destiny into the demon court. From now on, the demon court will have a sun, a moon, and stars. There will be the alternation of day and night. There will be the heavenly cycle revolution. There will be the heavenly cycle divination. There will be the heavenly cycle connection. The eternal river hibernation. Di Shitian sent the entire heavenly cycle star map into the demon court's void. Immediately, the star map was like a boundless painting that was reflected in the void. Whoosh! Countless thick chains of laws appeared out of thin air, binding the star diagram. At the same time, they spat out pure chaotic divine flames, tempering the entire ancient diagram. Rumble. The heavenly cycle star map had been damaged by Di Shitian, and cracks had appeared on the star tree. At this moment, under the refinement of the entire demon court, there was not much resistance at all. The entire star map was like a water wave, strangely merging into the void, rippling out circles of ripples. It merged with the demon court at an astonishing speed. Vast amounts of star yuan qi continuously poured into the ancient star diagram. The stars in the ancient star map flashed with starlight, and the star tree that had cracks on it quickly healed. Buzz, buzz, buzz. After a while, the heavenly cycle star map finally merged completely into the demon court. In an instant, one could clearly see that the ancient star map had completely disappeared in the void. It was replaced by a vast and complete star space. Rays of starlight poured down on the entire demon court like a tide. At the same time, they shone on the 129,600 spaces. One could see it when one looked up. A bright moon hung high in the sky. The moon was surrounded by stars, making the starry sky look unusually bright. The demon court was shrouded in darkness, but under the starlight, it was unusually beautiful. Rumble. When the star map was refined and completely merged into the void, a vast amount of power was fed back from the void and poured into the entire ancient city. Immediately, in a series of rumbles, the demon court began to expand violently again. The vast amount of divine crystals that had been accumulated was also continuously integrated into the ancient city. It made the ancient city expand even faster. It expanded again and again. At the same time, the nearly liquefied vital energy of heaven and earth thinned considerably, reaching a level that was normal in the primordial era. But at the same time, the power of the stars poured down in an endless stream. Countless cultivators who cultivated cultivation arts related to the stars were overjoyed. A pillar of stars formed in the Emperor Realm's Jade Archive in the blink of an eye. Destiny. Destiny. The scale of destiny appeared out of thin air on the Emperor Realm's Jade Archive. Strands of destiny lore were extracted and poured into the Jade Archive. The talisman of destiny in the Jade Archive grew with astonishing speed. The ruler of destiny had personally refined this scale of destiny. Although the Tao of destiny within it wasn't very powerful, it was very complete. As soon as it entered the talisman of destiny, it took only a few breaths of time to complete its initial steps. Complete and flawless. Rumble. The materials used to refine the scale of destiny began to strangely melt under the power of the divine flames, transforming into a river of destiny. It fell into the newly born Tao Lotus of destiny and swirled around it. In an instant, all life in the demon court seemed to sense the aura of destiny. The ancient city continued to expand. After a long while, it finally stopped. It had grown by half its original size. It was even more vast and boundless. The aura emanating from the demon court grew more and more subtle. Faintly, the aura of eternity permeated the air. Demon court, half-step eternity. However, after reaching half-step eternity, there was almost no way to advance any further. It was as if the path ahead had been cut off. What a powerful demon court, said Mai Xin. Mai Xin said slowly, however, husband, you should know that the more powerful a supreme artifact is, the harder it is for it to reach the immortal level. Normally, a peak supreme is enough to reach eternity. But now that you're a half-step ruler, it's even harder for you to reach eternity. You need at least 2,000 great Taos that are truly perfect. You need at least 2,000 great Taos to form the heavenly pillars. If you hadn't fused it with the star map, you should have been able to reach eternity with 1,500 pillars. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chijian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1152. Third update. Brothers, give Myriad Demon a few monthly votes. Let's see if it's possible for him to get on the list. The stronger the demon court was now, the bigger the world would be when he became an immortal. Naturally, the number of pillars of the great path that he needed to support the world would be even more terrifying. Although he had become a half-step immortal this time, he also needed more pillars of the great path to break through. With every gain, there must be a loss. That was the logic. It doesn't matter. The stronger the demon court is now, the more powerful it will be when it becomes an immortal artifact in the future. It might even be possible for it to become a mid-grade immortal artifact. Di Shitian wasn't worried. Since he dared to break through at this time, he wasn't afraid of future troubles. The chaos space was the mother of all things. It was so great that it could give birth to the purple gold continent and the demon god continent. How could it not have a way to complete the 3,000 great paths in the demon court? It was just that those divine objects were difficult to find, but it didn't mean that they couldn't be found. Husband, you entered the chaos space rashly. How much do you know about it? Mai Xin blinked her eyes and looked at Sakura with a smile that wasn't a smile as she suddenly asked. I'd like to hear about it. Indra didn't know much about the chaos space. He had only entered the chaos space in ancient times, but it was only for a few moments. The rest of the information was obtained from the mouths of other almighty experts in the nether prison. He didn't really know much about it. I'll prepare some food and wine in the Pure Heart Palace. Your Majesty, why don't you follow me back to the palace and we can talk about it in detail? Mai Xin chuckled and invited him. Di Tian's eyes flashed, and he said, all right. With a wave of his hand, he dismissed the officials. Under the leadership of Blood Dove, tens of millions of bloody kill guards quickly spread out to guard the demon court. The cold killing intent deterred the ambitions in the hearts of all the cultivators. In the city, no one dared to do anything illegal. After the officials of the demon court left, the demon court returned to its original location. The demons also returned to their lairs and began to cultivate diligently. The moonlight above his head was like rain, and the stars were like rain. Many of the all-heavens cultivators were not in the mood to cultivate because they had suddenly entered the chaos. Many of them were strolling around the streets. Now, many shops had opened up on every street. Some cultivators who were proficient in pill refinement spent a large sum of money to buy a piece of land in the city and set up shop there, becoming the shopkeeper of the shop. In order to refine pills, they would hire some idle cultivators to take care of the shop while they themselves would focus on refining pills and selling them in the shop. It was very prosperous. There were shops that specialized in selling materials and spirit essences. Most of the spirit essences in those shops were collected from the 129,600 spaces. Some cultivators would sell them to the shops and then sell them to the cultivators in charge of alchemy. Some were refining tools, some were selling all kinds of rare treasures, some were specially opened restaurants, and some were staying inns. It wasn't just the demon court that was monopolizing the market anymore. Instead, it was a competition between 100 schools of thought. Some were run by rogue cultivators, while others were run by various clans. There were all kinds of strange things. However, the best treasures were still those belonging to the demon court. And the most prosperous one belonged to the brothel opened by the Sky Incense Valley. The women inside were all outstanding beauties and naturally charming. Almost all of them were demonesses captured from the demon god continent. They were proficient in dual cultivation techniques. When cultivators entered, they really enjoyed themselves endlessly. They wanted to die. Moreover, there were also some female cultivators who needed money and money. They were willing to sell themselves in the brothel and could leave at any time. It didn't arouse the disgust of other cultivators or even the demon race. After all, it was voluntary. It was precisely because of some of these places that the demon court seemed to be quite prosperous. At this moment, a large number of cultivators came out to wander. Or they entered the restaurant and ate while looking at the chaos outside the demon court. They revealed curious and excited expressions and began to chat with each other. Ordinary cultivators who hadn't reached the peerless realm wouldn't be able to enter the chaos. Now that they had this opportunity, how could they not feel excited? At this moment, in the pure heart palace of the Jade Pool, there were maids waiting outside. All of them were delicate and decent. In the Pure Heart Palace, there was a table of sumptuous food and wine. Di Shitian and Mai Xin sat facing each other, eating delicious food and wine while casually chatting about some unimportant topics. After 3 rounds of wine, Mai Xin put down the gorgeous and exquisite cup in her hand and her beautiful eyes fell on Di Shitian. She chuckled and said, "Husband, you are a peerless genius. In a short period of time, you were able to break through from a mortal tiger in the mortal world. You sang triumphantly and advanced continuously. You transformed time and time again in the war and reached the supreme cultivation of a half-step ruler today. In the purple gold continent, and even in the demon god continent, you can be said to be an anomaly. However, husband, you have cultivated for too short a time. Even if you have extraordinary opportunities, there are many things that you don't know. For example, the chaos." Mai Xin spoke with assurance, her face full of sincerity. "That's right." Di Shitian nodded without hiding anything and said, "Although this emperor's cultivation is far superior to ordinary people, and I know most of the things in the purple gold continent, the origin world, and even the demon god continent. Even if I don't know, I can figure out a thing or two. However, the chaos is a domain that only peerless almighties can touch upon. Those who truly know are only peerless almighties. Moreover, even if they know, it is only superficial knowledge. This emperor also knows half of it. If he knew, he knew. If he didn't know, he didn't know. There was no need to pretend to know when one was on the path of the great Tao. He was also looking forward to seeing Charming Heart. In terms of her understanding of the primal chaos, no one in the Lingxiao demon court could match her. One had to know that Mai Xin was a part of the heart-devouring demon ancestor and had inherited all of its memories. A demon ancestor's understanding of the chaos was more than 10 times or 100 times greater than a peerless almighty. You and I are one, so Mai Xin will naturally tell husband everything I know, Mai Xin said with a smile. Mai Xin chuckled. Although she was now one of the demon concubines, she also knew that her position in Sakra's heart was far less than Chen Shi and the others. Naturally, She wouldn't let go of any opportunity to deepen her position. She immediately began to talk about the secrets of the chaos. In the eyes of the gods and demons, the chaos is the mother of all things in the world. It gives birth to life and gives birth to creation. Chaos chi is the mother of all chi. Every strand of chaos chi can be split into countless types of heaven and earth origin chi. However, it is precisely because chaos chi gives birth to all things that ordinary life forms will be devoured and assimilated into chaos chi as soon as they enter the chaos chi. This makes the chaos chi extremely dangerous, and it prevents any cultivator below Peerless Almighty from entering. Maishin said. However, this was only what most experts knew about the chaos chi, and it was not very profound. Di Shitian only nodded slightly. The chaos chi is the mother of all chi. Not only is it full of creation, but it is also full of ruthlessness. Chaos storms will sweep up from time to time, and when they do, the destructive power is extremely terrifying. Ordinary Peerless Almighty will die. Moreover, some forbidden areas will be born in the chaos chi, and they will evolve into terrifying danger zones. Moreover, they are all extremely forbidden areas. They are all forbidden areas for life. Once you enter, your chances of escaping are extremely slim. Every step in the chaos chi is dangerous. It is not just about opportunities and fortuitous encounters. Maishin said with a serious expression on her face. If the chaos chi can give birth to heaven and earth, then it can naturally destroy all things in the world. Di Shitian was not too surprised by this and nodded slightly. Therefore, in the chaos chi, there are 9 types of danger zones formed by the chaos chi. There are not 9 places, but 9 types. Each of them is extremely terrifying, and they are all forbidden areas for life. Maishin said again. 9 types of forbidden areas for life. Di Shitian's expression was unusually grave. These 9 descriptions clearly meant that there were countless similar forbidden areas in the chaos chi. These forbidden areas were for Peerless Almighties. One could imagine how terrifying they were. Not only that, but the chaos chi also gives birth to many godfiends. These godfiends are called primordial godfiends. Some are kind, while others are violent. Each godfiend is extremely terrifying. Because they were born in the chaos chi does not corrode them at all. Instead, they are like fish in water. Because they are born from the chaos chi, these godfiends cannot directly break through the barrier of heaven and earth to enter the origin world or the demon god continent. Therefore, they roam the chaos chi to survive. Some prefer to live alone, while others prefer to live in groups. These godfiends especially like to plunder experts from the origin world or the demon god continent. Once you run into them, it is quite dangerous to fight them. Maishin did not hold back and continued. Among the primordial godfiends, there are several extremely terrifying existences known as the primordial sovereigns. There are 9 primordial sovereigns. When I was at full strength, I was even slightly weaker than the primordial sovereigns. The primordial 9 sovereigns. Di Shitian took a deep breath, a solemn expression on his face. He was well aware of Maishin's identity. If even she said that she could not defeat any of the primordial sovereigns at full strength, then he could already guess how terrifying the primordial sovereigns were. Through Maishin's explanation, he had a rough idea of what the primal chaos realm was like. If he had not left the purple gold continent, he would not have known that there were so many inconceivable secrets and worlds in the chaos chi realm. He vaguely felt like his horizons had been broadened. The primordial 9 sovereigns gathered countless materials, spirit treasures, and divine items in the chaos chi realm to forge a tyrannical ancient city. It is an immortal grade divine weapon called the sovereign divine realm. It is where large numbers of primordial godfiends gather. Many godfiends who want to trade often go to the sovereign divine realm to purchase items. If you enter the chaos chi realm, the sovereign divine realm is a place worth visiting. Maishin threw out another piece of information. Sovereign divine realm? Immortal grade divine tool? Di Shitian's eyes couldn't help but contract in an instant. My goodness, the chaos chi realm is not as desolate as I imagined. It turns out that there are such incredible secrets. Back then, the Emperor of the Underworld and I roamed the chaos chi realm for nearly 10,000 years, but we did not know of the existence of this sovereign divine realm. Incredible, incredible. Lunatic DI, your concubine is worth it. Dark clicked his tongue inwardly. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1153. The information that Enchanted Heart had given him was priceless. There were many things that not even the most powerful experts knew about. For example, the number of people who knew about the sovereign divine realm could be counted on one hand. Even if an ordinary expert entered the primal chaos and learned of the existence of the primeval godfiends, they might not know about the sovereign divine realm. Even if they did, they might not know its exact location. Not to mention the 9 forbidden zones of the primal chaos. Don't look down on the matter of just a few words. Every single one of those words could save countless lives. If not for the fact that they were clueless and had barged into the 9 forbidden zones, they wouldn't have been able to escape at all. However, if they understood the characteristics of the 9 forbidden zones, they might still have a chance to escape. There were many things that couldn't be explained to outsiders. This information alone gave D.I. Chetienne a rough understanding of the primal chaos. Only those who had reached the level of a sovereign or the demon ancestor would be able to understand some of these secrets. If the sovereign divine realm can gather all the primeval godfiends and primeval wild beasts in the primal chaos, will we be able to enter? Sakra's eyes flashed with a wisp of light as he suddenly asked. The 9 primeval paragons of the paragon god domain have always been mysterious. They're in seclusion, and legend has it that they're trying to break through to the Aeonic divinity realm, which is above the sovereign realm. Furthermore, they don't forbid other cultivators from entering the paragon god domain. It's possible to trade for divine materials and items that can only be found in the primal chaos. There are even supreme treasures that can only be found in the primal chaos, which is even more mysterious than the primal chaos. However, the sovereign divine realm is filled with powerful experts and experts. Ordinary items and even currency are meaningless to them. Furthermore, there was no currency that could gain their approval. Thus, the sovereign divine realm is a place of bartering. Only when both parties are willing can a trade be made. Without a precious treasure, you won't be able to trade for anything good. Maishin chuckled. However, husband, as the ruler of the demon court, you have an immeasurable amount of wealth. Many of these items are precious treasures to the sovereign divine realm. Even if you enter the sovereign divine realm, you'll still be able to trade for a large number of items. Good. Good. If that's the case, then the chances of the demon court breaking through to the immortal grade will be greatly increased. Once it breaks through to the immortal grade, it won't be any weaker than the sovereign grade divine artifacts. D.I. Chetienne's eyes shone brightly. He was looking forward to the sovereign realm. In the chaos, any spirit item, divine item, or even spirit root possessed unfathomable power. For example, the living soil of the 9 heavens could elevate the great Tao of Earth recorded in the Jade Archive to an unfathomable level. It could even transform the great Tao of Earth from a great Tao law into a great Tao law. Magical laws were something that could only be created when the deathless immortals reached the level of the Aeonic God realm, and were far more powerful than magical laws. In the chaos, divine items like the living soil of the 9 heavens were definitely not rare. Obtaining it was truly a supreme opportunity. It could cause the demon court to undergo another transformation. Furthermore, there are plenty of grotto mansions created by old freaks in primal chaos, and all of them are incredibly terrifying. Some even created their own clans and call themselves emperors and patriarchs. Given your current strength as a half-step hegemon, you'll have to be extremely careful in the primordial chaos. Beguiling Heart reminded him again. How do I get to the sovereign realm? D.I. Chetienne nodded and asked the most crucial question. There was no direction in the primordial chaos. Even if he knew about the existence of the sovereign realm, it would be extremely difficult to find it. It might take hundreds of thousands of years, but he believed that Beguiling Heart would have a way to get there. Haha. Husband, the primordial chaos has been around for countless years, and a large number of primordial godfiends have been born. These ancient existences are no less intelligent than any other intelligent race. Living in the primordial chaos, who wouldn't have one or two good friends? Although there's no direction in the primordial chaos, they still came up with a unique method to communicate, find their friends, and determine their location. This method is called the Sovereign Life Lantern. Beguiling Heart said calmly. What's the Sovereign Life Lantern? Di Shitian took a deep breath and asked directly. The Sovereign Life Lantern is a unique treasure. It doesn't have any destructive power, but once it's lit up, it can lock onto the coordinates you want to go to, and allow the demon court to move quickly in that direction. However, where you want to go, you must first obtain the other party's lantern guide, which is the coordinates. As long as the lantern guide is there, your Sovereign Life Lantern will be connected, and you can easily find the other party's location. As she spoke, Beguiling Heart transmitted the method of refining the Sovereign Life Lantern to Di Shitian's mind. At the same time, Di Shitian also clearly understood the various mysteries of the Sovereign Life Lantern. This unique treasure was actually created by the primordial 9 sovereigns. As long as it was refined, the newly refined Sovereign Life Lantern would automatically form a Sovereign Life Lantern guide, and it would be able to clearly sense the location of the Sovereign Realm. Continue moving forward. He wouldn't lose his way. Other than the Sovereign Life Lantern guide, the other lantern guides had to be given by other experts willingly. Otherwise, there was no way to find the location of other experts. Moreover, even if he obtained the other party's lantern guide, as long as the other party's Sovereign Life Lantern was extinguished, he wouldn't be able to sense it. This also prevented others from using the Sovereign Life Lantern to lock onto the location and chase after him. To go to a certain place and light up the Sovereign Life Lantern, it was an incredible creation. Moreover, the Sovereign Life Lantern could illuminate the path ahead. It was like the light in the darkness. During the refining process, the key wasn't the materials, but a set of mysterious restrictions called the Sovereign Life Lantern restriction. It was this set of restrictions that gave the Sovereign Life Lantern its mysterious power. If that's the case, then this Emperor will immediately refine the Sovereign Life Lantern and head to the Sovereign Realm. I hope there's something this Emperor needs in the Sovereign Realm. Di Shitian talked with Beguiling Heart for a long time. When the night was almost over, he suddenly stood up and said goodbye to Beguiling Heart. He had to leave first to refine the Sovereign Life Lantern. Husband. When Beguiling Heart heard this, a strange expression appeared on her face. She smiled and said, "There's no rush to refine the Sovereign Life Lantern. As long as the Imperial Heavenly Treasury is open, this concubine will be able to refine it. The night is long and the sky is dark. Beguiling Heart and you are husband and wife, but we haven't consummated our marriage yet. Why don't you rest in my pure heart palace tonight? Beguiling Heart's body is yours, husband." Her gentle words seemed to contain an indescribable seduction. Her appearance as if she was at his mercy could break the mind of any expert. Even Di Shitian's mind and will couldn't help but waver. He had an urge to stay. However, Di Shitian's extreme emperor tyrannical heaven art appeared on its own, emitting a strange sound of the great Tao. He calmed his agitated mind, but his expression didn't change at all. He calmly glanced at Beguiling Heart's body and said meaningfully, "Don't worry, your 9 cauldrons beauty body will be mine sooner or later. It's just that the accumulation in my body hasn't reached the critical point for a breakthrough. Once it reaches the critical point, I will naturally come and take what belongs to this emperor." Di Shitian's calm voice was filled with endless majesty. After saying this, he turned and walked out at a leisurely pace. He left behind a sentence, "You're a demon concubine of my demon court. Naturally, you can go to the Imperial Heavenly Treasury. Since you've volunteered, then I'll leave the refining of the Sovereign Life Lantern to you." This demon emperor. Beguiling Heart heard this and laughed a few times strangely. She shook her head. She sat down alone and looked at the chaotic world outside. This demonic woman who wants to take people's lives. Di Shitian left the Pure Heart Palace with a bitter smile on his face. It was as if there was a ball of fire burning in his body. He didn't say anything and quickly walked toward Chen Shi's palace. The moment he entered, he saw Chen Shi playing a zither in the palace. He didn't even think about it and directly walked over. Amidst a series of exclamations, he carried her to the cloud bed. While she was blushing, he directly pressed her down. Not long after, waves of seductive moans echoed in the palace. That sound seemed to be able to seduce people's hearts. When the maids waiting outside the palace heard it, they all revealed embarrassed expressions and were uneasy. Their eyes were rippling like spring water. It was as if there was a little deer running around in their hearts. After a long time, several hours, when it was almost dawn, the sounds in the palace gradually died down amidst the loud moans. 3 days later, a golden lantern suddenly hung on the southern sky gate of the demon court. Bursts of golden light bloomed from the lantern and scattered into the chaos, illuminating the path ahead. It was as if there was a mysterious power in this lantern that was inexplicably guided. He could sense a vast divine domain standing in the midst of the primal chaos. The lantern could clearly sense the direction and location of the divine domain. Rumble. When the lantern was hung up, it directly absorbed a ray of spiritual light from the purple gold mainland into the lantern's flame, causing the lantern to have the light guide of the purple gold mainland. With the help of the lantern, one could find the location of the purple gold mainland and return at any time. The demon court, which had stayed outside the purple gold mainland for several days, finally began to move at this moment. Under the guidance of the supreme life lantern, it quickly shuttled into the depths of the chaos. The demon court was vast and boundless. With this movement, the surrounding chaos aura constantly churned violently. Faintly, the chaos was collapsing and breaking apart, turning into earth, fire, water, and wind. Faintly, heaven and earth were evolving in the chaos. Countless laws flashed, but these new worlds did not have a strong barrier to support them. They immediately began to be crushed by the chaos. But at the same time, a mysterious devouring force came from the demon court. It stripped the laws derived from the new worlds at an astonishing speed and devoured them into the Emperor's Jade Archive. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1154. Those who still have tickets, please help me up. Ding ding ding. The Imperial Jade Archive kept vibrating, and countless heavenly sounds of the Great Tao kept reverberating in the Jade Archive. Faintly, one could hear the incredible sounds of the Tao. In the Jade Archive, there were mysterious divine writings condensing, forming a strange scripture of the Great Tao. Kotomi's 3 layers dance immortal. 9 chi reflected in the sky, and the divine cover child gave birth to purple smoke. It is said that the Jade Book can be studied carefully, and it can be read for 10,000 days. 1,000 disasters can eliminate 100 diseases, and it does not fear the cruelty of tigers and wolves, and it can prolong old age. Above is the soul, below is the guanyin, left is the shaoyang, right is the taiyin. Behind is the secret door, and in front is the door of life. Rising from the sun and entering the moon, the breath exists. The 4 chi are combined, and the purple smoke is divided into 3 clouds. It irrigates the spiritual roots of the 5 flowers, and the 7 liquids flow between the huts. Purple and yellow enter the dantian, and the secluded room illuminates the yang. The great Tao is not troubled, and there is a spirit in the Niwen. The spirit of the hair is called Taiyuan, the spirit of the brain is called Niwen, the spirit of the eyes is called Yingxian, the spirit of the nose is called Lingjian, the spirit of the ears is called Yutian, the spirit of the tongue is called Zhengluan, the spirit of the teeth is called Luo Qian. One side of the divine sect's Niwen, and the Niwen 9 truths have a room. Within an inch of this place, one wears the purple flying gauze. But thinking of one part, one's lifespan is endless, and not all reside in one's head. Sitting in the outer side, one's heart is the same. Divine writings kept flying out of the Jade Archive and condensing. However, this mysterious scripture was obviously not complete. It was a kind of incomplete scripture. The divine writings were not any kind of words, as if they were the Tao writings of the Great Tao. Every word and sentence contained the supreme truth. Carefully savoring it, one could feel the profound truth in the scripture. The supreme Great Tao. It was as if there were countless mysterious spells, boundless supernatural powers, and endless Great Tao. Even if one could not comprehend it, as long as one listened to it, it could make one's state of mind undergo an incredible transformation, and it would be difficult for evil to invade. It was the essence of the great Tao. It was the true supreme Tao scripture. There were no techniques or supernatural powers, but it seemed to be the outline of all great Tao. However, this Daoist scripture was incomplete. However, as it continued to devour the laws of the new worlds born in the chaos, it made up for the great Tao in the Imperial Jade Archive. It also made the Tao scripture faintly improve. One could clearly see that the 3,000 great Taos in the Jade Archive were constantly circulating and even colliding. Every time they collided, they would condense Tao runes one after another. After entering the chaos, the demon court showed signs of being like a fish in water. Rumble. Just as the demon court was making its way to the sovereign god realm, 3 terrifying tribulation clouds suddenly appeared out of the chaos and rushed into the demon court. When they collided, they strangely merged together. They merged into one. The vast pressure emitted by the tribulation clouds rolled over the entire demon court like a tidal wave. This scene caused countless cultivators to be so shocked that their souls almost jumped out of their bodies. Heavens! That's karmic tribulation. Who's transcending tribulation? Who's breaking through to become a peerless expert? Not just one, but 3. With all 3 karmic tribulations added together, they're definitely done for this time. What a terrifying karmic tribulation. It's equivalent to several times, maybe even 10 times stronger than an ordinary one. Who would have the guts to transcend 3 karmic tribulations at the same time? Karmic tribulations of heaven and earth would only appear when an ancient powerhouse broke through to become a peerless expert. When they appeared, there was no doubt that someone was breaking through. However, with so many karmic tribulations stacked together, almost no one was optimistic about the person undergoing the tribulation. Whoosh! Whoosh! 3 divine lights suddenly appeared in the sky above the demon court and faced the karmic tribulations head-on. Rumble! In an instant, countless heavenly tribulations struck the 3 figures in a frenzy, enveloping the entire space. It was impossible to see the 3 figures clearly. A snow-white heavenly bridge broke through the space and suppressed the heavenly tribulations. It seemed to be suppressing the heavenly tribulations and stopping them in their tracks. A vast Huang Quan sacred river and a 9-story pagoda soared into the sky. They struggled to resist the heavenly tribulations. The power of the heavenly tribulations was extremely terrifying. The 3 figures could not hold on for more than a moment. The Dharma treasures on their bodies were shattered one after another, and even their bodies were constantly shattering. It was as if they would die in the karmic tribulation at any time. However, just as they were about to be unable to hold on any longer, vaguely, a huge jade archive appeared out of thin air. A vortex appeared in the jade archive and swallowed the entire heavenly tribulation. Breaking through the heavenly tribulation. Whoosh! Whoosh! 3 divine lights directly enveloped the 3 figures. After a long time, they woke up. Their bodies emitted a vast divine aura. At the same time, they knelt in the direction of the Lingxiao Palace and the Jade Pool and said, Duobao, Tian Can, and Huang Quan, thank your majesty for your help. Your subjects were able to become ancient Fey gods. We will definitely serve the demon court loyally. You may return to your positions. A voice filled with the majesty of a supreme being resounded in the void. Yes, Emperor. When the 3 elders heard this, their bodies trembled and they immediately agreed. With a flash, they disappeared from the void. However, this scene caused the cultivators in the ancient city to be secretly shocked. They were also secretly shocked. Tribulation transcendence. What they have just transcended is the karmic tribulation of heaven and earth. This is a karmic tribulation that only appears when one is a peerless expert. Under the protection of the demon emperor, all of them succeeded. They directly broke through from ancient heavenly demons to ancient demon gods. Now, there are 3 more ancient demon gods in the demon court. Supreme mighty figures. The strength of the demon court has increased again. I've heard that because of the monster emperor, there are already 2 ancient monster gods in the soaring firmament demon court. One of them is called the sky-reaching ape king Know-it-all, and the other is called the Divine Crow Lord. Now, with the addition of the 3 ancient monster gods who have just broken through, there will be 5 ancient monster gods in the demon court. With the addition of the monster emperor and the bewitching concubine, the strength of the soaring firmament demon court has reached an astounding level. Under the leadership of the demon emperor, the demon race has indeed begun to quickly recover to the peak of the ancient demon race. The cultivators pondered in their hearts. Feeling the continuous strengthening of the demon court, their reverence for the demon court deepened day by day. At this moment, Di Shitian was not in the Jade Pool. Instead, he had entered the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive. Back then, the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive had absorbed the small Chaos Bead, causing a Chaos Bead to be born in the Jade Archive. Although this Chaos Bead was not as vast as the real Chaos World, there was still a huge amount of Chaos Chi in the bead. Every time the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive absorbed the Chaos Chi, 10% of it would be poured into this small Chaos Bead. It increased the Chaos Chi inside, allowing the Chaos Bead to grow. It kept expanding. At this moment, Di Shitian's Emperor body was sitting upright in the vast Chaos Chi in the Chaos Bead. The 14,000 feet Emperor body stood in the Chaos Bead. Every inch of the Emperor body was suffused with a resplendent divine glow, flickering with strands of shocking Emperor aura. It was purple gold and glassy. Every line on the Emperor's body was like a mysterious Tao pattern. It was as if countless living beings were praying and worshipping him outside. The surrounding Chaos Chi washed over the Emperor body. Not only was it unable to corrode the Emperor body, but it also quickly entered the Emperor body through the pores of his body. The mysterious Tao sounds from the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive kept echoing in his ears. The Tao scripture kept echoing in his mind. Listening to the Tao scripture, Di Shitian's mind was unprecedentedly clear. There was a spiritual light flickering every moment. He deduced all kinds of mysterious divine abilities and Dharma spells. In his mind, a purple gold manual kept rising and falling. Countless figures were constantly practicing all kinds of combat skills, cultivation techniques, and ultimate arts. The cultivation techniques they cultivated were all different. Some were cultivating the heavenly demon god slaying technique, some were cultivating the white tiger divine manual, some were cultivating the 7-star manual, some were cultivating the prime Valsword manual, and so on. Every figure cultivated all kinds of cultivation techniques to a profound level at an astonishing speed. They were personally experiencing the wonders of all kinds of cultivation techniques. Among them, there were thousands of figures cultivating the Ultimate Emperor shocking the world. They had all reached the peak of the Peerless Realm and were trying to break through to the half-step Sovereign Realm. They were completely imitating Di Shitian's previous situation. They were constantly groping forward. They were personally deducing the follow-up cultivation technique of the Ultimate Emperor shocking the world. Di Shitian had only deduced the 12th volume of this peerless cultivation technique. Moreover, he was very clear that his current half-step sovereign realm was pushed up by the heavenly pill's tyrannical power. However, the actual cultivation process was still lacking. At this moment, he was using his astonishing intelligence to simulate himself in his mind. He put himself at the peak of the peerless realm and tried to use the normal cultivation method to break through to half-step sovereign realm. He had deduced the most correct cultivation method of the Ultimate Emperor shocking the world. The path to half-step sovereign realm. Bang, bang, bang. During the deduction process, each step was fraught with danger. One figure after another, cultivating the Ultimate Emperor shocking the world, walked into a fork in the road. Their bodies exploded, crumbled, and were destroyed. However, they immediately reformed and continued to try the new method. Time after time, they accumulated a huge amount of experience. He was deducing the cultivation technique. Not only was he perfecting the 12th volume, but he was also deducing the 13th volume, the supreme cultivation technique that would directly lead to the sovereign realm. Outside, the mysterious scripture revolved around the emperor's body. It reverberated, causing the wisdom in his mind to constantly burst forth with inspiration. One after another, the difficult problems in the deduction were solved. Every time, he achieved a breakthrough at an astonishing speed. Di had already used his supreme divine ability to reverse the flow of time in the chaos bead. This time, the reversal was at a rate of 1 to 10,000. 1 day outside was 10,000 days in the chaos bead. The ultimate emperor shocking the world was deduced from the 12th volume to the 13th volume. Every bit of improvement and perfection required hundreds of years, even thousands of years. In the deduction, time was but a matter of an instant. In the chaos bead, time flowed continuously like flowing water. Under the guidance of the supreme life lamp, the demon court constantly shuttled through the chaos, rapidly advancing toward the supreme god realm. The chaos was simply too vast. With the speed of the demon court, who knew how much distance they could travel every day? They had no idea where they were, but they knew that they were getting closer and closer to the supreme god realm. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidyen.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1155. Throw in 2 tickets if you have one. Although they'd entered the chaos, the monsters and cultivators in the city didn't panic at all. Instead, Di had deliberately reversed time, reversing the time difference between the outside world and the demon court to a ratio of 1 to 3,000. All the monsters and cultivators were overjoyed and focused on cultivation. 1 year was comparable to 1,000 years. This was a heaven-defying method that only the great clans and sects on the purple gold continent could use. Only the core disciples and geniuses could enjoy this supreme treatment. None of them regretted leaving the origin world with the demon court and entering the chaos. They all grasped this opportunity that was hard to come by, grasping every inch of time to cultivate and improve their own cultivation. While he was cultivating, he would often make shocking discoveries that would spread throughout the city. I've finally broken through and become an immortal emperor. Cultivating in the demon court is amazing. I can easily feel the various Daoist rhymes of the great Tao permeating the world. Moreover, every inch of space is filled with dense carnate chi. It's even denser than in the purple gold continent. The demon emperor is even more benevolent. He reversed time and allowed us to cultivate at a ratio of 1 to 3,000. It seems that it's possible for me to become an immortal emperor in this life. Unfortunately, if I can climb the stairway to heaven, it's only a matter of time before I become an immortal emperor. I really envy those who can join the demon court. Not only can they get an official position, but they can also enjoy the resources of the demon court. After breaking through, some cultivators couldn't help but sigh and look enviously at the stairway to heaven. Even the cultivators of the heavens couldn't enter there, unless they joined the demon court, were a monster themselves, or had shocking wealth. Only then could they go up once. During this time, almost every elite of the monster race had 3 free chances to enter the stairway to heaven after they were born. After using up all 3 chances, they'd need to pay a certain amount of money to go up again. Even so, it was obvious that every time they went up, they'd have a considerable breakthrough. It was a direct inheritance without any hidden dangers. In the inheritance, one could obtain a cultivation method and divine ability suitable for oneself. It was an immeasurable divine artifact. Haha. I, Luo Yaozu, truly have great luck. I was actually able to find the ruins of a wind-moon cavern in the heavenly wind region. The Tao of luck, the Tao of great luck, I'll definitely be able to cultivate to the level of an eternal hegemon. Become strong. A cultivator from the all heavens had entered a place called the heavenly wind dimension, one of the 129,600 dimensions. By chance, he had found a ruin, obtained an inheritance, and obtained a large amount of wealth in one fell swoop, enough for him to become an eternal titan. TSK. The demon court is truly amazing to be able to refine such a wonderful treasure. Now, you only need a soaring cloud card to buy anything you want. The amount of soaring cloud coins he had could be clearly seen in the cards at a glance. 4 mutual transactions, he only needed to stack the cards on top of each other, and the transaction could be completed automatically. Interweaving was too convenient. According to legend, this was completely controlled by the Heavenly Secret Treasure Archive. It's amazing. After the Heavenly Secret Treasure Archive was tested by the Purple Firmament auction, it immediately began to be promoted to the entire demon court. Every soaring cloud card that represented one's identity was connected to the Heavenly Secret Treasure Archive. For large transactions, there was no need to carry a large amount of soaring cloud coins. One only needed to swipe the soaring cloud card. It was extremely convenient. As soon as it was promoted, it immediately attracted the love of countless demons and cultivators. They agreed greatly. Especially those who opened shops, they liked it even more. The soaring cloud card was already an item that every cultivator and demon in the demon court had to carry with them. Here, the purchase of any item had to use Lingxiao coins. In the demon court, the Lingxiao coins were quite strong. Those who passed the selection and recruitment and entered the demon court integrated into the 6 divisions of the demon court, causing the 6 divisions to operate quickly. The edicts issued by the demon court could be implemented at an astonishing speed. Every day, the demon court was changing at an astonishing speed. The essence of the moon and the stars sprinkled down. Every day, tens of thousands or even millions of demons were born. In the chaos, 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Rumble. Meanwhile, 30,000 years had passed in the chaos bead of the Imperial Jade Archive. The supreme imperial body entrenched in the chaos was cleansed by the chaos energy, becoming even more simple and unadorned. Every inch of flesh and blood exuded an aura of immortality. Within the black lotuses of each imperial indestructible imperial talisman, vast amounts of imperial true force surged like the tide. It seemed to fill the entire space within the black lotuses. Boundless sounds of the Tao circled around. The Imperial Shocker Scroll, the 13th volume, complete. Chaos energy roiled violently. Purple gold Daoist runes surged out of Di Shitian's body and gathered together, circling around the imperial body. Heavenly sounds preached the Daoist runes that had emerged. One by one, the runes gathered above his head. Chaos energy swirled with the Daoist runes, forming a chaos vortex above his head. Vast amounts of chaos essence surged into the Daoist runes. Strands of purple gold divine radiance shot out of the vortex like tidewater. The Tao of the Emperor controls the universe, the Tao of desire controls all life. The Tao of the Emperor, the Tao of desire, the Tao of the Imperial Emperor. After swallowing a huge amount of chaos energy, the Tao runes quickly gathered together. In an instant, a purple gold book formed above his head. On this book, there were several Tao runes filled with the majesty of an emperor, Royal Extreme World Shocking Book. Shockingly, there were 13 pages in the book. As it flipped through the pages, images and text appeared. In the blink of an eye, the book descended from the top of his head and entered his body. In the blink of an eye, it split into 129,600 copies, which then entered the imperial indestructible imperial talismans around him. They merged perfectly with the Jade Archive containing the words of the Imperial Emperor within the Black Lotuses. The various abilities recorded in the Jade Archive were constantly revolving around this amazing book. It was almost as if they were worshipping it. Excellent! This trip to the necropolis of the God Emperor was the most important opportunity of my life. The Heavenmend pill pushed me to the half-step sovereign realm, and allowed my nascent divinity to fuse with my flesh and blood. Although it lacked the normal process of breaking through, it broadened my horizons, and allowed me to clearly understand the key to becoming a sovereign realm expert. Thanks to that understanding, I was able to deduce the complete 12th volume, and understand the path of cultivation of the Sovereign Lord. Therefore, I was able to deduce the 13th volume. Today, the Imperial Shocker Scroll is finally complete. Di Shitian's eyes snapped open, and they shone with dazzling light. His eyes shone with wisdom and foresight. He had a clear understanding of the path of cultivation ahead of him. The 108 Emperor's true apertures on the 12 demon veins continued to devour primal chaos energy, and at the same time, they continued to expand. The Emperor's true apertures condensed into oval-shaped primal chaos eggs, from which primal chaos energy continued to pour. Boundless imperial energy poured in, along with the power of desire. A mysterious, milky white gas also poured in. His Dharma idols were like babies in gestation. They hugged their legs with their hands and slept within the Imperial Emperor's true apertures. Each of the Imperial Emperor's true apertures seemed to have a life of their own. They rose and fell, pulsing with vigorous vitality every time they pulsed. Vaguely, some kind of inconceivable transformation was slowly taking place. This transformation occurred after Di Shitian formed the Imperial Emperor's true aperture and entered the primal chaos to absorb the primal chaos energy. After the transformation, Di Shitian had the power to stop it at first. However, he had a strange feeling that this was something that would bring him unimaginable benefits. If he tried to stop it, he might lose an indescribable opportunity. Although this meant that he would no longer be able to receive the blessing of his Dharma idols. However, the blessing of his Dharma idols was only one of his trump cards. Even if he lost it, it wouldn't cause him too much harm. He would let nature take its course and allow the Imperial Emperor's true aperture to evolve on its own. The primal chaos energy transformed the aperture into an egg, the Dharma idols reverted to carnate, the purple Imperial energy, the power of desire, and the power of desire merged into it. I wonder what kind of surprise this Imperial Emperor's true aperture will bring to me. The opening of the true aperture is indeed extraordinary. There are definitely secrets within it. Di Shitian said in a deep and meaningful voice. The gains from this seclusion were enormous. The Imperial Emperor's true aperture in his body was almost full to the brim with the 12th rank Black Lotus. He was really close to breaking through the barrier from half-step to dominator. Rumble. At this moment, the demon court, which was traveling through the primal chaos, suddenly shook violently. It was like a large ship sailing in the sea that suddenly hit a reef. The entire ancient city was shaking violently. The heavens and earth were spinning. The primal chaos energy in the surroundings constantly rumbled and shattered, transforming into the 4 elements of earth, fire, water, and wind. The ancient city, which had been moving forward, suddenly stopped. Di Shitian, who was in the primal chaos bead, felt it. He suddenly stood up and rushed outside. What's going on? What did the demon court just encounter? Could there be a reef in the primal chaos? So scary. What is that? The demon court is already a half-step immortal divine artifact. What can stop it? Ah, look, there are so many long ropes. Are they snakes? Or some kind of ferocious beast? They're alive. These tentacles have wrapped around the demon court. Could it be that we've encountered a primordial godfiend in the primal chaos? The demon court shook violently. The demons and cultivators in the city were lifted up. Their expressions changed drastically as they screamed. Looking at the primal chaos outside the demon court, they saw thick tentacles hundreds of thousands of feet long sweeping toward the entire demon court. It seemed like they were going to overturn the demon court. A terrifying aura swept toward the billions of living beings like a tidal wave. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chijian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1156. Supreme Life Lamp, illuminate all directions. An authoritative voice rang out in the sky above the demon court. As soon as the voice fell, whoosh, the supreme life lamp hanging on the southern heaven gate instantly flew into the air. In an instant, the light in the lamp bloomed with golden light at an astonishing speed. It was like a bright sun, illuminating the chaotic world around the demon court. Immediately, the originally dark chaotic world appeared in the eyes of countless cultivators. The scene outside was clearly reflected in their eyes. Octopus! Octopus! What a huge octopus! Look, there's an island in front. Octopus! So many octopus! In just an instant, when they saw the scene outside clearly, there was immediately a series of exclamations. Those voices were filled with a strong sense of horror. It was as if what they saw was beyond the scope of their imagination. Bloodstrike Guards. Formation. Blood Dove coldly shouted. Azure Dragon Army. Formation. Vermilion Bird Army. Formation. White Tiger Army. Formation. Xuanwu Army. Formation. Chilean Army. Formation. In just an instant, The few armies stationed in the demon court gathered at an astonishing speed and turned into a few torrents that rushed out of the 4 heaven gates. With a few soft sounds, 5 vast divine beasts formed out of thin air. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At the same time, 7 figures with powerful auras broke through the air from the ancient city. They appeared in the sky above the demon court. Bang bang bang. At the same time, Di Shitian, who was wearing a black emperor's robe, walked step by step into the void as if he was walking on a staircase to heaven. He scanned the surroundings. When he looked, his eyes narrowed slightly. Under the illumination of the supreme life lamp, he could clearly see the scene around him. Huge pitch-black octopuses that were at least tens of thousands of feet long appeared in a dense crowd around the demon court. Every octopus had countless tough tentacles on its body. They danced wildly like snakes, stirring up the surrounding chaotic chi. It looked like boiling water. They swept madly towards the entire demon court, bound them, and continuously whipped them violently. Every strike had the terrifying destructive power of a peerless master. The strength of his physical body had reached an unsurpassable level. Furthermore, in front of the demon court, there was a gigantic island. That island was comparable to the chaotic lands in the violet gold mainland. The island was only the surface. Inside the island was a huge green ocean. In the middle of the ocean, there was a dark golden throne. A middle-aged man with a cold expression sat on the throne. He wore a black robe, and his body was tens of thousands of feet tall. He emitted an oppressive pressure. Around the throne were countless giant octopuses, crowding around it, especially the 4 golden octopuses under the throne. A ruthless look appeared in the middle-aged fiend god's eyes. Primordial fiend god, octopus emperor, Paul. At some point, Maishan had appeared beside Di Shitian. Her expression changed slightly as she looked at the primordial fiend god. Octopus emperor, you're blocking the demon court. Do you want to make an enemy out of us? A layer of frost appeared on her face. You know the name of the octopus emperor? The middle-aged god glanced at the Ling Xiao demon court and laughed strangely. I didn't expect that I, the octopus emperor, would encounter such a big fat fish while wandering in the chaos space. This supreme divine artifact is one of the top 10 divine artifacts I've seen outside of the supreme divine realm. It's a good opportunity to snatch it and make it my mount. All the beauties in the city will be my concubines. Maniacal laughter reverberated in the chaos as he shouted, Children, kill, slaughter all the males in the city and leave all the females behind. Destroy the city and I will reward you handsomely. Roar, roar. As soon as he finished speaking, countless Archean octopuses spat out of the island like a tide, sweeping toward the Ling Xiao demon court. These octopuses were indeed creatures that lived in the chaos. Even the weakest one was equivalent to a peak ancient celestial demon. Most of them were ancient demon gods. They blotted out the sky and covered the earth. There were probably hundreds of thousands of them. Kill. Di Shitian didn't waste any words. He only spat out the word coldly. Rumble. The high firmament demon court shuddered violently, and the primordial octopuses that were entwined around it exploded into pieces. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Bang, bang, bang. In the ancient city, all of the lightning-gathering towers flickered with lightning, especially those that were fused with the iron-blood lightning cannons. They emitted a destructive aura. At this moment, under the continuous forging of the forging pavilion, a large number of iron-blood lightning cannons had been created and fused with the lightning-gathering towers. At this moment, there were more than 1 million lightning-gathering towers. These turrets roared at the same time. Bolts of destructive divine thunder of annihilation blasted heavily on the bodies of the immemorial octopuses. The terrifying destructive power blasted a huge hole in each of the octopuses on the spot. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. However, these primordial octopuses had strong vitality, strong defense, and terrifying physical bodies. Their wounds healed at a speed visible to the naked eye under the chaotic aura. In the blink of an eye, they were restored to their original state. Dozens of cannons were needed to bombard them continuously. Moreover, these primordial octopuses were strange. Even if they were blasted into pieces, the broken flesh and blood would continue to squirm and condense into smaller octopuses. They would continue to attack the demon court fiercely. Those primordial octopuses couldn't even get close to the demon court and were blasted to death. The combat power of the demon court was getting stronger almost every day. You actually condensed the divine lightning into a lightning cannon to attack with lightning. However, you're dreaming if you think you can stop me, the Octopus Emperor Paul. Immemorial lightning talisman, strengthen your body. The Octopus Emperor Paul saw that his octopus army could not even get close to the demon court. They were directly blasted into pieces by the lightning cannons. Some could not even revive. After being blasted into powder by the dense lightning cannons, his face turned cold. He roared and suddenly threw out a purple jade talisman. It appeared above the octopus army. Swish, swish, swish. Shadows of jade talismans imprinted themselves onto the bodies of all the ancient octopuses. A rune appeared on each of their foreheads. The octopus army howled. He was even more fearless. Bang, bang, bang. The dense thunder of destruction bombarded these octopuses, but strangely, these octopuses were not blown to pieces again. Instead, the seals on their foreheads flashed quickly and turned into huge jade talismans in front of them. The destructive thunder of destruction collided with the talisman shadows. That talisman shadow was like a Daotai as it swallowed the divine lightning of annihilation in one gulp. It disappeared in the blink of an eye. Most of the destructive force was swallowed by the jade talisman. Only a small part of the destructive force landed on the octopuses, but it couldn't break their bodies at all. The destructive force against the octopus army was greatly reduced. Not good. That's the immemorial lightning talisman that was born in the chaos. It's a top-tier innate spiritual treasure. I didn't expect the Octopus Emperor to have such a treasure. Mai Xin's expression changed slightly as she spoke. 5 armies. Kill. Blood Strike Squad. Imperial Immortal Formation. Di Shitian calmly gave the order. Celestial Emperor Chariot. Rumble. Kill. 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 The 5 troops roared and formed a 5 troops battle formation, condensing the Divine Beast True Body. The Divine Beast True Body, which was hundreds of thousands of feet in size, appeared in the sky above the demon court. They let out cold murderous roars and charged toward the octopus army. The azure dragon opened its mouth and spat out a mouthful of azure dragon breath that enveloped an immemorial octopus. The immemorial octopus flesh decayed at a speed visible to the naked eye, and it turned into ashes. There was a terrible poison in the ashes. The vermilion bird divine flame burned the octopuses to ashes. The white tiger's terrifying sword light shredded the octopuses to dust. The black tortoise's frosty breath froze thousands of miles. The Chileen rushed over and tore the immemorial octopuses to shreds. The Bloodstrike Guards formed groups of 129,600 and set up the Ultimate Emperor Indestructible Formation. Rumble. Hundreds of thousands of feet tall Imperial Emperors in blood-red Imperial robes formed out of thin air. The Imperial Emperors looked exactly like Di Shitian. Each Imperial Emperor's power was comparable to a peak unparalleled expert, and they were close to the strength of a half-step sovereign. This extreme Emperor Immortal array was condensing and summoning the power of Sakra. The Imperial Immortal True Body punched out, and dozens of immemorial octopuses were smashed to pieces. Tragic. The battle was extremely tragic from the very beginning. The smell of blood filled the chaos space. Ang 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 ang. The immemorial 9 dragons pulled the Celestial Emperor's chariot. Di Shitian stood on the chariot and casually pulled out the Demon Slayer War Spear. A monstrous Emperor's aura rolled toward the Octopus Emperor Paul like a tidal wave. Wherever it went, the chaos space was strangely distorted, and there were faint ripples. I don't care if you are the Octopus Emperor or the Octopus Ghost. Anyone who dares to attack the demon court will be killed without mercy. Di Shitian looked coldly at the Octopus Emperor on the island and said coldly. The Celestial Emperor's chariot charged forward at an astonishing speed with a monstrous aura. The war spear in its hand was pointed at Paul, and surges of Imperial Immortal True Force poured into the war spear. 9 Devil Slayer strikes. 1 strike. 2 strikes. In just an instant, The Demon Slayer war spear was like a heavy mountain as it slammed toward the Octopus Emperor. It was the powerful 9 Devil Slayer strikes. Half-step sovereign. Di Shitian's power was unusually reserved. As long as he did not make a move, ordinary people would not be able to see through his cultivation. The moment he made a move, the majestic aura caused the Octopus Emperor's face to change. He let out a cry of surprise, but a golden whip instantly appeared in his hand. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1157. This golden whip was covered with countless chaotic Dao runes that intertwined with a mysterious Dao rhyme. It exuded a powerful spiritual pressure. As the Octopus Emperor turned his wrist, the golden whip in his hand started to vibrate in an unimaginable trajectory. In an instant, hundreds of millions of golden whip shadows enveloped the surrounding chaos. Wherever it went, the chaos was continuously destroyed by the whip shadows. Some of them swept towards the Demon Slayer battle spear, while the rest swept towards Di Shitian. The Octopus Emperor exuded a powerful primordial chi that belonged to the primordial godfiend, as well as an immortal aura. Indistinctly, the surrounding chaotic chi gushed into it in a frenzy. Kid, don't be so arrogant. I, the Octopus Emperor, am also a half-step sovereign. I'm not afraid of you. The Octopus Emperor roared with a ferocious expression. Rumble. The silver-white Demon Slayer battle spear in Di Shitian's hand became tens of thousands of feet long. As he executed the 9 Demon Slayer strikes, the vast Demon Slayer will shot out from the battle spear like a tidal wave. Countless heavenly spirits appeared on the battle spear, letting out cries of demon slayers as they converged into a monstrous torrent. With Di Shitian's strength, every strike had the destructive power of a half-step sovereign. As for the 9 Demon Slayer strikes, every strike was twice as powerful as the previous one. At this moment, they were stacked together. Immediately, the silver-white divine radiance that erupted from the battle spear shook the chaos. Crack! The chaotic chi churned violently, surging crazily, collapsing continuously, evolving into a new world, full of destructive power surging out like a tide. Hundreds of millions of divine lights pierced through the chaos aura. When they collided with the golden whip shadows, the equally terrifying golden whip shadows only lasted for a few seconds before they were shattered by the battle spear. They were annihilated inch by inch under the Demon Slayer will. The battle spear was unstoppable. The whip shadows that were blasting towards Di Shitian continued to surge in front of the dazzling Heavenly Emperor's canopy, but they were unable to break through the canopy's defense. Ah! You dare to harm me, the great Octopus Emperor Paul. Amidst a furious roar, the golden whip in the giant Octopus Emperor's hand was forcibly broken apart. However, the power that erupted from the whip strangely annihilated all the spirits that appeared on the battle spear, weakening the demon-slaying power in the battle spear. However, the battle spear had already heavily bombarded the Octopus Emperor. At the critical moment, the Octopus Emperor tilted his body slightly, and the battle spear struck his right shoulder. Puff! The spear pierced into the Octopus Emperor's shoulder. However, a tyrannical force immediately burst out of his body. What a powerful fiend god body! Even the Devil Slayer battle spear only managed to penetrate 100 jong into his flesh and didn't manage to pierce through his body. It is indeed terrifying. It has the strength of this Emperor's emperor physique after I proved my Tao through strength in the ancient era. As expected of a powerful primordial fiend god born from the primordial chaos. After this blow, Di Shitian couldn't help but secretly flash through his mind. For the first time, he had a certain understanding of the primordial fiend gods. The Octopus Emperor's physical defense was not only tyrannical, but also felt like he had struck an extremely soft cotton. A part of the force that fell on the Octopus Emperor's body was directly deflected to both sides by the Octopus Emperor's body. Moreover, the Octopus Emperor's body was exceptionally hard, even more terrifying than divine iron. He was secretly in awe. He was quite wary of these primordial fiend gods born from the primordial chaos. They were indeed extraordinarily terrifying. The The octopus emperor's face was full of anger. He roared, his eyes full of violent light. No matter who you are dead. How dare you hurt the great octopus emperor? Today, the great Paul will let you know how terrible it is to hurt me. I will let you see the ferocious octopus emperor. Rumble. Paul, who had maintained his human form, roared. His demonic hair danced wildly, and bursts of purple divine brilliance burst out from his body. He rushed out of the island and appeared in the primordial chaos. The primordial chaos tumbled violently, emitting a terrifying roar. Countless purple tentacles stretched out like a tide, spreading in all directions. Each tentacle was tens of thousands of feet in size. They could twist and boil the primordial chaos. A huge purple octopus millions of feet long appeared out of thin air in the primordial chaos. On the head of the octopus was a human head. It was Paul. He wore a purple gold crown on his head and held a green scepter in his hand. He stared at Di with his huge eyes. He shouted coldly, "Today, I will let you experience the great prophecy technique of the octopus emperor. I am the primordial supreme." Rumble. The octopus emperor waved his scepter, and as soon as his voice fell, an incredible mysterious power appeared on his body. Suddenly, Paul, who was originally in the form of a huge octopus, transformed into a vast godfiend. This godfiend's upper body was human, but its lower body was a huge snake. There was a scorpion-like barb on its tail. It flickered with cold light. He held a terrifying white bone spear in his hand. A kind of pressure that was brimming with supremacy rushed towards Sakra. The octopus emperor turned himself into an primordial supreme. Today, I will let you know the consequences of offending the octopus emperor. Watch my great prophecy technique. You are a pig. The voice of the octopus emperor came out from the mouth of the primordial supreme. He sneered crazily and pointed his spear at Di. With this point, a mysterious power fell on him. Great prophecy technique. Di.'s expression was cold. He could clearly feel the mysterious power quickly pouring into his body and exerting itself on him. His feet were strangely transforming into a pig's feet. Reverse. The power in his body was rapidly disappearing, as if he was really transforming into an ordinary pig. This reversal was almost unstoppable. The word of the Supreme, "My words are the will of heaven," break. Di.'s emperor's aura emerged like a tide. The jade archive condensed from the Supreme Emperor's immortal emperor talisman in his body burst out at an astonishing speed and poured into every inch of his flesh and blood. The great prophecy technique that poured into his body was directly shattered by the power of the Supreme Emperor's prophecy technique. In front of the Supreme Emperor's prophecy technique, the difference between the Supreme Emperor's prophecy technique was like the difference between an adult and a baby. His legs, which had been reversed, recovered in an instant. The real will be eternal, and the illusory will eventually be destroyed. The great prophecy technique has been dissipated by this emperor. After Di shattered the great prophecy technique, he saw the octopus emperor, who had become an immemorial sovereign, sneered and spit out a decree full of inexplicable emperor's aura. An invisible force full of supreme power shrouded the octopus emperor out of thin air. "No, my great prophecy technique is invincible. How can you break it?" Feast of Death. The Supreme Emperor's prophecy technique was domineering. It could be said to be one of the most incredible god powers in the world. Although the great prophecy technique was a godly god power, it couldn't match the Supreme Emperor's prophecy technique at all. Under the power of the Supreme Emperor's prophecy technique, it could be clearly seen that the immemorial sovereign, who was originally standing in the chaos, was constantly dissipating. The legs below became countless tentacles again. Seeing this, the octopus emperor's eyes flashed with horror. Taking advantage of the fact that the power of the great prophecy technique had not completely dissipated, the white bone spear in the Supreme's hand blasted heavily towards Di. Outside the spear, scenes of death and life holding a feast were transmitted, chasing eternal life in death. Countless hymns of death reverberated outside the spear. A kind of terrifying power that could crush everything and split the heaven and earth apart directly swept towards Sakra from the battle spear. In an instant, Di sharp senses smelled the scent of death. He vaguely felt that even the Celestial Emperor's canopy would be pierced through on the spot by the spear. Obviously, the Octopus Emperor wanted to launch a surekill attack when the Great Prophecy technique dissipated. You're still a little lacking if you want to kill me. 9 Devil Slayer strikes. Di Shitian raised his arm again, and the Devil Slayer battle spear aimed straight at the oncoming white-boned spear. With a twist of his wrist, he blasted out with Supreme Emperor's might. First Devil Slayer strike. Second Devil Slayer strike. Third Devil Slayer strike. Fourth Devil Slayer strike. Di Shitian blasted out 4 strikes. The power contained in each strike didn't dissipate. Instead, as the spear retracted, it directly poured into his body. After circulating 1 round, it poured back into the spear. This caused the Devil Slayer power in the spear to double with each strike. After 4 consecutive strikes, the power contained in the spear had directly crossed over to the Sovereign Realm. Rumble. The Devil Slayer battle spear and the white-boned spear collided head-on. For a moment, in the chaos, a silver-white battle spear and a grey-white battle spear collided violently. In an instant, the surrounding chaos completely collapsed, and a vast heaven and earth opened up crazily. The terrifying destructive power completely stirred up the chaos within a radius of millions of miles. Catcher. The terrifying destructive power. Even if a peerless expert entered, they would be instantly crushed into powder and completely annihilated. The power contained in the Devil Slayer battle spear was extremely terrifying. The white-boned spear only lasted for a moment before it immediately shattered at a speed visible to the naked eye. It turned into powder. The Devil Slayer battle spear blasted the Octopus Emperor's body in an unparalleled manner and pierced through his heart on the spot. No. A trace of fear appeared in the Octopus Emperor's eyes. His entire vast god-demon body was instantly torn into billions of pieces under the violent power and shot out in all directions. I, the Octopus Emperor, will not let this go. Countless pieces of flesh and blood wriggled crazily, turning into countless Octopus Emperors and quickly escaping in all directions. Before they escaped, they left a ruthless sentence. You have no chance. The huge demon court appeared out of thin air above the Octopus Emperors, completely enveloping all the flesh and blood. In the demon court, the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive spun wildly, and the ancient city instantly turned into a terrifying black hole. It completely covered the chaos within a radius of millions of miles. All the flesh and blood, along with the chaos chi, were swept into the ancient city. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidyen. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1158. It's a new week. Brothers, help me get a few recommendation tickets. Thanks, Drifting. Impossible. Is the great Octopus Emperor going to die just like that? No, Slaughter Dao Monarch, you have to avenge me. The demon court suppressed the chaos with a domineering aura. It was so fast that the Octopus Emperor didn't even have time to escape. He was caught on the spot. The Ultimate Emperor's Jade Archive circulated wildly, erupting with a mighty force that left the Octopus Emperor, who had been shattered into billions of pieces, unable to resist. They were all sucked into the demon court. However, he didn't send all of them into the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive. Instead, he sent a large portion of the Octopus Emperor's clones to 129,600 different spaces and used the power of space to suppress them. Some of them were sucked into the Ultimate Emperor's Jade Archive. Whoosh! A blazing chaos flame appeared on the Jade Archive, and the Octopus Emperor's clones were sent in. They didn't even wait for their bodies to fuse into one before they were immediately burned and refined. Chains of law bound the Octopus Emperor, grinding into his flesh and blood, constantly extracting a tremendous amount of godly and demonic power. The Octopus Emperor's soul, various divine abilities, spells, and even his cultivation memories were extracted. The Great Prophecy Art, in particular, was constantly extracting the Great Prophecy Art. The past, the present, and the future are all within the prophecy. Reality can be reversed, and illusions can be realized. Turning the impossible into the possible. The Snow-White Talisman of Prophecy in the Jade Archive originally only had a small corner. Now, as the pure great prophecy art was extracted from the octopus emperor's body and poured into it, it began to grow at an astonishing speed. Before long, it had formed a complete talisman of prophecy. But that wasn't all. The talisman of prophecy art was still growing and transforming at an incredible speed. Damn you! Who the hell are you? How dare you try to take away the almighty octopus emperor's innate oracular art? You'll regret this. You'll suffer retribution. Dowlord Slaughter will avenge me. The octopus emperor saw his clones being refined by the chaotic divine flame. His blood was refined and sent into the blood sea of the blood Tao Lotus. The enormous power in his body was poured into the entire ancient city. Even his god arts and spells were constantly being refined and taken away. This was a complete death, a true fall. Not even the bones were spared. Who is so savage? Even more savage than me, the octopus emperor. Rumble. Under the continuous refinement, enormous energy poured into the ancient city like a tide. In an instant, the ancient city became even more solid. The demon court expanded again. Then, a large amount of low-grade god crystals were integrated into the ancient city. Under the infusion of enormous energy, the ancient city transformed crazily, constantly upgrading to supreme-grade god crystals. A half-step dominator octopus emperor had an enormous amount of energy. If not for the fact that the great prophecy art of octopus emperor was restrained by Di Shitian's supreme emperor speech, the octopus emperor might have been a near-invincible existence among half-step dominators. The great prophecy art was heaven-defying, but it encountered the even more heaven-defying supreme emperor speech. The octopus emperor, who had been separated, couldn't resist the Emperor Jade Archive's refinement at all. Part by part, he was refined. Before long, the talisman of prophecy art of prophecy in the Jade Archive transformed into a great Tao heavenly pillar. Moreover, this heavenly pillar was constantly condensing, with countless Tao runes flickering inside. The half-step immortal demon court refined the octopus emperor at lightning speed. Not long after, the entire octopus emperor was refined. All of its divine abilities were stripped away. After refining, it was discovered that the octopus emperor had a natural regeneration divine ability in addition to the great prophecy art. Even if a part of its body was cut off, it could grow back again. It was an innate ability. This divine ability allowed the regeneration talisman to reach perfection. It formed a great Tao heavenly pillar. After the refinement was completed, the demon court's size had expanded by nearly 1/3 again. It was even more vast. Your Majesty, all of the immemorial octopuses have been killed. However, they are extremely strange. Every piece of flesh that is cut off can automatically condense into a weaker immemorial octopus. Unless they are burned to ashes by divine flames, they are almost immortal. However, they have all been imprisoned. Your Majesty, please give the order to deal with them. While the demon court was refining the octopus emperor, Blood Dove had led the Bloodkill Guards and the 5 armies to wipe out the entire octopus army. However, the octopus emperor's vitality was extremely tenacious. Even if there was only a little bit of flesh left, it could condense into an octopus's appearance again. It was just that its strength would be weaker. However, they had all been sealed. Di Shitian glanced at the large number of immemorial octopuses that had been sealed. A majestic look flashed across his face. He was about to give the order. Suddenly, Dan Huang, who was dressed in a Daoist robe, hurriedly ran out and came in front of him. He bowed respectfully and said, "Your Majesty, these immemorial octopuses have such strong vitality and the ability to regenerate. Your Majesty, please give these immemorial octopuses to me. I can use their blood essence to refine the immortal divine pill that I have developed. It will increase the foundation of the demon court." His face was full of anticipation. For a cultivator like Dan Huang, who was extremely obsessed with alchemy, nothing was more attractive than developing and refining new elixirs. The immemorial octopuses in front of him were the best alchemy materials for him. Refine the immortal divine pill? A thought flashed through Di Shitian's mind. After pondering for a moment, he nodded and said, "All right, then seal these immemorial octopuses with the ice seal technique and leave them to you." After you develop the immortal divine pill, share the pill formula with the immortal wine pavilion and refine the immortal divine wine. Also, give half of the immemorial octopuses to the immortal wine pavilion. Thank you, Your Majesty. When Danhuang heard this, he was overjoyed and ran to accept the immemorial octopuses. What a powerful great prophecy technique. It can increase one's strength so much, and it can even weaken the enemy's cultivation and forcibly reverse life. I recognize that immemorial sovereign just now. He is one of the immemorial sovereigns in the sovereign divine realm, called the Death Sovereign. If the Octopus Emperor really gets his power, I'm afraid it will be extremely dangerous today. But husband, what kind of ability did you use to suppress the great prophecy technique? Maishin blinked her eyes and asked, You're right. The sovereign's word. Sakura calmly spat out a sentence. He had several supreme treasures in his hand, as well as a small world that was directly taken from him. Sweeping his gaze over the items, he saw a purple gold crown in his hand. There seemed to be countless emperors flashing on it. It was a high-rank carnate spirit treasure. The azure scepter was refined by the Octopus Emperor himself from various spirit items in the chaos. It was called the Scepter of Prophecy, a top carnate spirit treasure. The talisman was the immemorial lightning talisman. A top carnate spirit treasure. In the small world that was taken from him, various spirit items and divine items that could only be nurtured in the chaos appeared one after another. Each and every one of them was a priceless treasure. In the chaos, this emperor is a pauper. Robbery is king. Sakura couldn't help but let out a sigh as he placed the crown on his head. Instantly, the emperor's chi gushed in, making him even more dignified. Endless emperor's chi revolved around him. TSK, wealth, all of it is great wealth. The chaos lives up to its name. Any of the treasures nurtured in it would be enough for countless experts to fight to the death in the purple gold continent. Lunatic emperor, you want us to rob them? The primordial godfiends are really rich, so rich that they're overflowing with oil. Just the Octopus Emperor alone has such great wealth. Every single one of them is a carnate spirit treasure. This is only in the chaos. You wouldn't even think about it outside. Dark opened his mouth wide, saliva dripping down his mouth. If the primordial godfiends we meet on our way to the sovereign divine realm have no evil intentions, then forget it. If they do, kill them all and plunder their wealth. Expand the demon court. Di Shitian's eyes also flashed with radiance. However, he still had a bottom line in his heart. His principle had always been that if others treated him well, he would reciprocate kindness. If they violated him, he would return the favor 100 times, 1,000 times. The primordial godfiends were a whole. He also felt that if he befriended some primordial godfiends, he might be able to reap great benefits. Blindly being ruthless would only lead to a dead end. That island is actually formed from the living soil of the 9 heavens. After refining it, I should be able to obtain a large amount of living soil. There's actually a primordial spring in the ocean. Good, if I integrate this spring into the demon court will no longer lack water. Di Shitian glanced at the island again, his eyes flashing. The entire demon court swept towards the huge island, dragging the entire island into the ancient city. The island was constantly tempered by the ultimate emperor's jade archive, returning to its origin. It condensed into the living soil of the 9 heavens, and the primordial spring was taken away again. It integrated into the demon court. Immediately, the water chi in the demon court became abnormally active. Let's continue. Our target is the sovereign divine realm. Di Shitian cleaned up the entire battlefield. He didn't stay any longer. The sovereign life lamp lit up again and hung back at the south heaven gate. He continued moving towards the sovereign divine realm. The officials returned to their posts. Di Shitian looked at Bewitching Heart and asked, Bewitching Heart, what's Tao Lord Massacre's position among the primordial godfiends? The clamor of the Octopus Emperor before his death was also engraved in Sakura's heart. He naturally began to pay attention to Tao Lord Massacre. If the Octopus Emperor wanted him to help him take revenge, he definitely wouldn't be a weakling. Husband. A hint of seriousness flashed across Bewitching Heart's face when she heard that. As they walked towards the jade pool, she said, among the primordial godfiends, they can basically be divided into 5 levels. Oh. Di Shitian nodded with interest and gestured for her to continue. Because the primordial godfiends were born from the chaos, they were almost born as experts. Especially their bodies, they could resist the corrosion of the chaos. Once they were born, even the weakest of them was comparable to an ancient demon sage. This is the first level. It can be said that they are the newborn of the primordial godfiends. As long as they are born, they only need an extremely short period of time. Even if they are in seclusion, they will be able to become an ancient heavenly demon expert. The second level is the second level. The third is the ancient demon god level. The fourth is the half-step sovereign level. The fifth is the primordial sovereign level. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chijien. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1159. These 5 levels include almost all life forms, wild beasts, and even primordial godfiends in the chaos. Charm Shin was completely open to Di Shitian. As long as she knew something, she would tell him without holding anything back. She continued, Octopus Emperor Paul, who died in your hands earlier, was a 4th-level existence. Moreover, he was one of the sovereigns. The great prophecy art can be said to be heaven-defying. When necessary, it can greatly weaken the enemy and strengthen oneself. He's the most difficult to kill, and the Slaughter Dao Lord he speaks of is even more terrifying than him among the primordial godfiends. He's one of the top 3 half-step rulers. It's said that he's only a stone's throw away from becoming a prime. Don't be afraid, crazy emperor. With your strength, I don't believe that Slaughter Dao Lord can do anything to you. If he dares come, kill him. There's no need to fear him. If 1 comes, I'll kill 1. If 2 come, I'll kill both. The primordial godfiends are all filthy rich. They're perfect for funding us. Dark narrowed his eyes with a strange smile. Slaughter Dao Lord. Chemph. Even a primordial prime won't be able to make me bow my head, let alone him. If he comes, I'll just kill him. Di Shitian spat out coldly. They entered the Naka pool together. With the battle over, the demon court continued on its journey into the unknown. However, this battle had given the monsters and cultivators of the various facets a good example of how to understand the chaos. What a terrifying chaos! The primordial godfiends that live in the chaos are truly terrifying. That army of primordial octopuses has the strength of an ancient monster spirit god. There's so many of them. No wonder some major powers say that opportunity and danger coexist in the chaos. There's no such thing as luck. Don't enter the chaos so easily. No wonder so many experts don't dare to enter the chaos even after becoming a peerless major power. So it's so dangerous. Even a peerless major power can hover on the brink of death at any time after entering. If a major power had encountered that octopus emperor just now, they probably wouldn't even have been able to escape. They would have died on the spot. Good. It's a good thing that we're in the demon court. This demon court is really fierce. The Ironblood lightning cannon is extraordinarily strong. Moreover, there are more of them than before. Only in the city is it truly safe. No, I have to work hard on my cultivation too. The stronger I am, the greater my chances of survival in the primal chaos. In the past, the All Heavens cultivators and monsters were excited to enter the primal chaos. Although they knew that the primal chaos was fraught with dangers, those were merely rumors. It was far more realistic and shocking than actually witnessing it with their own eyes. Now that they had seen it with their own eyes, they felt an invisible pressure in their hearts. His desire to become stronger and stronger was growing stronger and stronger. While the demon court continued to move forward, the purple gold continent was full of excitement. First of all, in the heaven-toppling ancient map, as a large number of demons from the demon court entered, the battlefield instantly became extremely intense. In the ancient map, if a human cultivator and a demon cultivator were to meet, it would immediately lead to a fierce battle. Often, it would end with one side dying. Moreover, many of the demon god clan's hidden pawns made their moves one after another, constantly using assassination methods. The battle for the 3 lists and 1 chart was exceptionally fierce and jittery. Every bush and tree was an enemy. Every moment, a large number of peerless geniuses fell in the ancient map. Their souls were destroyed. At this moment, in a certain space in the endless void, an island covered in white bones was rapidly traversing the void. Every moment, it passed through countless spaces. There was no pattern to it, as if it was drifting randomly. On the island, strange trees formed from skulls grew. They emitted an evil light. At the very center of the island, there was a strange altar. On the altar, a pitch-black coffin sat quietly. Images of mountains of corpses and seas of blood appeared on the strange coffin. It seemed to be filled with the aura of death and carried with it a sinister chill. Strange runes flickered constantly on the coffin. Every time they flickered, they would absorb a large amount of the aura of death from the surroundings and integrate it into the coffin. Whoosh! The undying coffin suddenly opened, and a body that resembled a withered tree instantly drilled out and stood beside the coffin. It was true Lord Ku Rong who had self-detonated in front of Di Shitian. This guy did not die even after self-detonating. In front of him, a mysterious ancient mirror quickly scanned back and forth in all directions, patrolling. In the mirror, all kinds of images flashed constantly. There was a heaven-toppling ancient map, countless countries, and humans working hard. Cultivators working hard to cultivate, and even the vast mountain ranges and the hundreds of races in the heavens. It flickered rapidly. No, absolutely impossible. How could the demon emperor leave so easily? Could it be that he forgot the bet with this true monarch? Impossible, the bet involved so many carnate spiritual treasures, and there's also a superior grade carnate spiritual treasure, the Cloud-Gathering Banner. This is a carnate spiritual treasure that the demon court needs. Given the demon emperor's character, it's absolutely impossible for him to do nothing and lose the bet after 60 years. True Lord Ku Rong's eyes were filled with endless doubts, and all kinds of thoughts kept spinning in his mind. He used the heavenly peaking mirror to observe the heavens and the purple gold mainland, but he still could not find any trace of Di Shitian. Now, the most obvious sign was that the demon emperor had left the origin world and the purple gold mainland with the demon court and most of the demon clans in the heavens and the purple gold mainland to enter the chaos. However, he still could not believe this. He absolutely did not believe that the demon emperor would be willing to lose the bet back then. The victory or defeat of this bet was definitely not only related to the ownership of those carnate spiritual treasures, but also the demon emperor's face and the prestige of the demon court. Putting himself in the demon emperor's shoes, Ku Rong felt that if he were the demon emperor, he would definitely secretly search for the location of his real body. It was impossible for him to leave so easily. He was willing to admit defeat. Could it be that the demon emperor's leaving the purple gold mainland and entering the chaos was just a pretense, and he did not leave himself? He just wanted the demon court and even the demon clans to temporarily withdraw from this impending great calamity and hide in the dark to spy on the opportunity to move from the open to the dark. He himself might be relying on the ability of the demon court's supreme divine artifact to hide. Ku Rong would never believe that Di Shitian had really left. Well, if I'm not wrong, that should be the case. The chaos is so terrifying, and all the primordial divine demons are extremely ferocious targets. Even if a peerless expert entered, he would not have a prominent position in the origin world. One wrong move and he would be blasted into pieces. I don't believe that you, the demon emperor, would dare to gamble with the fate of the entire demon clan. The more he thought about it, the more certain Ku Rong was that it was very likely that the demon emperor had not left at all. Instead, he used a method of hiding in the dark. Well, if that's the case, I won't let your scheme succeed. I'll go out now and dig you out. Anyway, I'm immortal. Even if I fall after finding you, I can still come back to life again. I'm not afraid of you at all. True Lord Ku Rong secretly made up his mind. Without any hesitation, a light flashed in his hand, and an ancient mirror appeared in his hand. He lifted his foot and stepped out, disappearing in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, He stepped out of the endless void and appeared in a barren mountain range on the purple-gold mainland. Finally out. The moment Ku Rong appeared, a low murmur reverberated somewhere in the world, regarding the departure of Di Shitian and the demon court. In fact, there were many who had the same guess as Ku Rong. Some of the major clans in the various heavens were also quite suspicious. Many elites of the various heavens had entered the demon court, but unfortunately, once the demon court was sealed, no news could be transmitted out with Di Shitian's permission. They could not get any useful information at all. It was quite normal to have all kinds of guesses. In the chaos, there was a blood-red battleship floating casually somewhere in the chaos. The battleship was tens of millions of miles in size and was vast and boundless. Every inch of the hull was engraved with blood-red Tao patterns, and the surface was like a blood-red crystal that flickered with a smooth blood-red light. Countless primordial godfiends, primordial ferocious beasts, and even cultivators from various heavens appeared on the surface of the battleship. These primordial godfiends seemed to have fallen, leaving only their divine souls in the battleship. However, they were still filled with endless killing intent, and each of them was a butcher who had slaughtered millions and billions of people. Their killing intent soared to the sky, revealing a ferocious aura. These ferocious godfiends continued to kill each other on the battleship, and there was a monstrous killing intent flowing in the battleship at every moment. The divine souls of the primordial godfiends that appeared on each level of the battleship were different in strength. The higher they went, the more terrifying they were. The more terrifying the killing intent they exuded, the more terrifying they became. On the battleship, blood-red cannons stood ferociously. There were no godfiends behind the cannons, but they exuded a tragic killing intent. Even just looking at them made one feel as if their divine souls were being torn apart by countless killing swords. The blood-red cannons were coldly aimed at the chaos outside. There seemed to be no living primordial godfiends on the battleship. It was just like a ghost ship, drifting forward in a deathly silence without a target. A blood-red lantern hung on the battleship, flashing and flickering, sending chills down one's spine. In the cabin on the 9th level of the battleship, a young godfiend with long blood-red hair, who was 10 million feet tall and wore blood-red robes, sat cross-legged with a blood-red sword in front of him. The sword in his hand was constantly breathing as if it had a mind of its own. It beat again and again. It was as if there were countless vengeful spirits entangling it. "No, Tao Lord of Slaughter, you have to avenge me," the Octopus Emperor. Suddenly, a jade talisman flew into the air from his body and shattered instantly. At the same time, a terrifying scene appeared in front of him. A vast ancient city suppressed a large number of primordial octopuses. A tragic cry could be heard. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1160. Those with tickets, please help me up. Octopus Emperor Paul, who dares to kill you? Seeing the scene and cries after the jade talisman shattered, the primordial godfiend's eyes shot out two blood-colored beams of light. They instantly shot out from the cabin and pierced into the chaos, shattering the chaos aura and quickly evolving into new worlds. Under the pressure of the chaos aura, they were destroyed on the spot. The blood-colored hair behind his head danced wildly, revealing endless killing intent. A fierce look flashed across his face. He let out a cold roar. "How dare you kill Paul? Today, even the primordial supremes won't be able to save you. I'm going to grind your bones to dust." Tao Lord Massacre. The person in front of him was the infamous Tao Lord Massacre in the chaos. With a furious expression, he reached out and grabbed at the shattered jade talisman. Immediately, an inexplicable aura was caught in his hand. Then, he flicked his finger at the blood-colored lantern hanging on the blood-colored battleship. Immediately, the blood-colored lantern flickered with resplendent blood-colored light, vaguely locking onto an unknown location. "Paul, your heroic soul is not far away. Guide me. I'll head over now and kill your enemy to avenge you. I'm going to use his life, his people, and their blood as a sacrifice to reverse time and space." "You won't die." Tao Lord Massacre coldly spat out these words. That gaze seemed to be able to shatter any willpower. Rumble. The entire massacre battleship suddenly turned around and charged in one direction. Wherever it went, a terrifying crack was forcefully opened in the chaos. Its speed was unbelievably fast. It rampaged. It was unrestrained. It had no scruples at all. The shocking killing intent scared away the surrounding primordial godfiends. There was naturally another set of laws in the chaos. It was rumored that in the sovereign god realm, the primordial supremes had ordered the creation of an investiture of the gods. It was an incredible treasure that could be found throughout the chaos. As long as a godfiend was born, a wisp of aura would be absorbed by the investiture of the gods. All the primordial godfiends, primordial beasts, and even all the experts. They would all leave their names on the investiture of the gods. The rankings on this list were the most fair rankings of combat strength. As long as one looked at the list, one would know who the experts were. Was he strong or weak? Similarly, if a person's name disappeared from the list, it meant that the person had died. In the sovereign god domain, news could reach the ears of almost every primordial godfiend in an instant. At this moment, on another huge island, an old man sitting in the ninth heaven suddenly received a jade talisman. After inspecting it, his expression changed slightly. He said, "What? Octopus Emperor Paul has actually fallen? Who is it? Who is this expert? How could he be so powerful to annihilate Paul, who knew the great prophecy art?" Good. Good. Very well. In the past, the Octopus Emperor relied on his divine abilities and the Tao Lord of Slaughter behind him to steal a dream recall stone from me. To think that you would have such a day. Delightful, delightful indeed. If I want to know who killed Paul, I will definitely go and drink 3,000 cups of wine with him. The old man raised his head and laughed loudly. That laughter was filled with joy. Carefree. It was as if he had spat out a mouthful of resentment. However, after laughing, he muttered, "However, the Tao Lord of Slaughter behind the Octopus Emperor will definitely know about Paul's death when he died. Rumor has it that when Tao Lord of Slaughter was just born, he was extremely weak. It was the Octopus Emperor who protected him during his time of crisis. Later on, Tao Lord of Slaughter became famous. He was like a brother to the Octopus Emperor. This time, Tao Lord of Slaughter will definitely go. In that case, I will also go and take a look. If there is a chance, I might be able to join forces with the expert who killed the Octopus Emperor and kill Tao Lord of Slaughter." With this thought, the old man made up his mind. The supreme life lamp on the Slaughter battleship and its lamp guide had been left in the sovereign god domain by Tao Lord of Slaughter in an extremely domineering manner. He had directly said that the lamp guide was left here. If anyone wanted to seek revenge or kill him, they could come directly to him. His ferocity was limitless. This also allowed almost all the primordial godfiends to have the specific coordinates of Tao Lord of Slaughter. However, only a handful of them dared to look for him. None of them had survived. Moreover, Tao Lord of Slaughter's supreme life lamp had almost never been extinguished. It could be found at any time. Rumble. The vast island shook slightly and immediately shuttled towards Tao Lord of Slaughter's location. Haha, the Octopus Emperor has been killed. Interesting, very interesting. Tao Lord of Slaughter will definitely not let the expert who killed the Octopus Emperor go. He must be rushing over now. However, although Tao Lord of Slaughter is powerful, the person who can kill the Octopus Emperor is definitely not a weakling. He might not be inferior to Tao Lord of Slaughter. If that's the case, when they fight, it might end up in a situation where both sides will suffer. This is what I want to see the most. Go, I must go. How can I not go? Who knows, I might be able to benefit from it. A series of strange cries came from a mysterious palace wrapped in 7-colored auspicious clouds. The palace turned and quickly chased in a certain direction. Tao Lord of Slaughter, HMPH. Back then, you killed my good friend. I admit that I'm no match for you. Today, it seems that this might be a good opportunity for revenge. Let's see if I have a chance to kill you. A cold voice came from an ice island. Even the chaos chi seemed to be frozen. The ice island turned and also broke through the void towards a certain place in the chaos. How could any of the primordial god-fiends that had survived in the chaos be weak? Furthermore, they were all extremely intelligent. After hearing the news of the Octopus Emperor's death, they immediately figured out a large number of possibilities. A large number of primordial god-fiends heard the news and moved. Some were interested in Di Shitian, some had a grudge against Dao Lord of Slaughter, some wanted to watch the fire burn across the river and be the Oriole behind. Or maybe they just wanted to watch the show. Almost instantly, the chaos shook. In the vast and boundless chaos, there seemed to be a murderous aura. For a moment, Di Shitian's action of killing the Octopus Emperor seemed to stir up the entire chaos, stirring up a storm of chaos and slaughter. At this moment, the demon court was still steadily approaching the Paragon God realm. Along the way, they passed through countless chaos worlds. There weren't a large number of spiritual treasures in the chaos. After such a long time and such a long range, they only encountered 2 spiritual items. One was a carnate spirit root, the azure water lotus. The other was a piece of chaos divine metal. As for the other carnate spirit treasures, they didn't find a single one. It was obvious that it wasn't easy to find carnate spirit treasures in the chaos. Even if there were, the primordial god-fiends would have plundered them clean. In the jade pool. In the pavilion, Di Shitian sat inside. Beside him were Chen Shi, Bai Hu, Katomi, Bewitching Heart, Little White, Zishuan, and Zhu. His youngest daughter, Di Shitian, sat in Di Shitian's arms and snuggled up to him intimately. They talked about some interesting things around the jade table. On the jade table, there were all kinds of tempting spiritual treasures, such as immortal peaches, purple jade grapes, golden apples, jade condensing fruits, blood body, immortal jujubes, immortal plums, and so on. They were exquisite and exquisite. As they chatted, they tasted them from time to time. Slash. 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 Outside the pavilion, a child who seemed to be around 7 or 8 years old but appeared to be abnormally sturdy could be seen. He carried a simple and unadorned battle sword on his back, and his small hands took turns to land on the hilt of the battle sword at a rather fast speed. He pulled the sword out of the scabbard at an astonishing speed. At the same time, a royal aura flashed in the sword, and it instantly reached its peak. With a twist of his wrist, he slashed at a large piece of chaotic divine metal in front of him. This slash was clean and carried the domineering aura of an emperor. It was unusually domineering. It carried with it an irresistible force. It was as if one had to submit to the sword. After slashing, the battle sword immediately returned to its scabbard. With every slash, the power on the child's body seemed to condense and increase by a bit. His small face was filled with a resolute expression, and wisps of royal purple aura gathered on his small body. Every time he swung his sword, a sliver of the dense imperial purple chi above the Ling Xiao demon court would descend and enter his body, steadily strengthening his cultivation. "Daddy, brother has been practicing for the whole morning. Why don't you let him rest for a while before continuing? Daddy, don't you always say that practicing martial arts requires a balance between work and rest?" Sitting in Di Shitian's arms, Di Yue raised her delicate face, blinked her clear eyes, and said in a childish voice. At the same time, she looked at Di Yang, who was still practicing outside. "Yang, that's all for today. Come to Daddy." Di Shitian showed a kind of fatherly smile, put his hand on Di Yue's head, and gently stroked it a few times. Then, he said to Di Yang, who was outside, in a dignified manner. "No, Daddy, I still want to practice for a while. I'm not afraid of hardships. Compared to you, Daddy, I'm still far behind." However, Di Yang did not want to rest. Instead, he continued to practice seriously. "Husband, let Yang decide for himself. Compared to you back then, Yang is much happier. He was born as the son of the great emperor, he has a noble status, but at the same time, he knows how to cherish it." Although she felt a little sorry for his son, who was practicing hard outside, he did not show any affection. Instead, he said sternly, "What's more, you specially went into seclusion to create the Emperor's treasure mirror for Yang. If he still doesn't cherish it, he doesn't deserve to be the demon crown prince. Hearing this, Di Yang's small body could not help but tremble. The expression on his face became more resolute and resolute. His hands became steadier as he waved the sword. While waving the sword, he was constantly cultivating his emperor's qi. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1161. Between heaven and earth, there were more playboys. In a sect, the descendants of noble families often did not think about gratitude, did not think about making progress, and did not know how to correct their own attitude. They only knew how to bully others to show their nobility. However, they did not know that in life, no one was born noble. They were born lowly. No matter how rich one was, if one only knew how to squander, he would end up with nothing. Birth represented only a starting point, not an achievement. The so-called pride was only an illusory grandeur. It was the glory of one's parents and clan, not one's own glory. If one was lost in the illusory glory, once the beautiful outer garment was torn apart and one left, one would be nothing more than an ordinary person. At that time, one would not be nobler than any other life, but more humble. Strength, only one's own strength, self-restraint, and knowledge could really bring oneself the qualifications to compare with the glory obtained by others. Glory without strength was just a castle in the air. Those so-called playboys could only be arrogant for a while. How many of them could have proud achievements? As parents, educating their children was the most important responsibility that could not be ignored. Blindly doting was not true love for children, but a kind of degeneration that pushed children into a rotten abyss. Di Shitian knew this well. As the supreme emperor of the demon court, he controlled the fate of the entire demon tribe. His power was so great that ordinary people could not imagine it. His children were born to be crown princes and princesses. They were the favored children of heaven and earth. With such an identity, if his children did something evil, it would be a terrible thing. Since childhood, he had not been stingy with his strict father's face, especially to Di Yang. Sitting in the position of crown prince of the demon court, Di Yang's words and deeds would have a great impact on countless demon tribes. Di Shitian would never allow his children to be playboys who only knew how to rely on his prestige. Therefore, when teaching, he didn't hide the fact that the status of crown prince was innate, but whether or not one was worthy of this status depended on one's own efforts. If one wasn't worthy, then one didn't need to be the demon court's crown prince. If he had the strength to be the crown prince, he needed to be qualified to make countless demon tribes respect him from the bottom of his heart. If he didn't want to make progress, he didn't need others to kill him. I will personally strangle you to death. Fortunately, Di Yang was born to be sensible. He could understand the painstaking efforts of Di Shitian and Chen Shi. He was meticulous in all kinds of homework and even in practicing martial arts. Especially after he got the cultivation method Heavenly Emperor's treasure mirror his father created for him, he practiced it more diligently. She personally proposed to the Sakra to forcibly seal the tyrannical demonic power in her body that was almost comparable to the ancient demonic sage when she was born, so that she could start from an ordinary little demon, and cultivate little by little from the beginning. The Heavenly Emperor's treasure mirror had a total of 12 scrolls, enough for one to reach the ancient demon god realm. Moreover, Sakra had also left some space for him. Later on, there was a possibility of him breaking through to the sovereign realm. Yue doesn't want to. Father is biased and only creates cultivation techniques for Big Brother and not for Yue. Yue is ignoring you. Di Yue blinked her eyes and suddenly pouted as she spoke in a delicate voice. As she spoke, she purposely turned her head to the side, looking like she was very angry, but with the cuteness of a young girl. Yue, how could your father not dote on you? Your father has already prepared the cultivation technique for you. Qinshin smiled gently and looked at Yue lovingly as she said softly, "Third madam, is that true?" A beautiful smile bloomed on Di Yue's face, and her eyes narrowed into 2 beautiful crescent moons. "This is yours." Di Shitian smiled faintly and handed a book to her, saying, This moon god's treasure mirror was specially created for you. I hope that my children will be able to shine like the sun and moon in the myriad of worlds. Diu took the book and felt the rich moonlight flowing out of the book. She felt the gentle power that illuminated the darkness, and she was almost instantly attracted to it. She couldn't help but look away. After a long while, she raised her little face and quickly kissed Di on the cheek. She said happily, "Thank you, father. Yu will definitely not disappoint you." Witnessing the happy scene of a family reunion, Su Tianxiang and Katomi couldn't help but reveal traces of envy in their eyes. In their hearts, how could they not want to give birth to a child for Di? However, the 3 rankings and 1 chart selection was still not over. With the Chuanxiang chart's ability, even if one entered the chaos, there was no way to block out the aura. Once they lost their virginity, they would immediately lose this great opportunity. There will be plenty of time in the future. Sakura seemed to be able to sense their thoughts as he smiled at them and faintly spat out a sentence. "Father, Yu wants to hear you play the zither." Diu suddenly said coquettishly. "All right. Today, I'll play the boundless sea and sky for you." Di smiled faintly and took out the 7 sins demon zither. His 10 fingers strummed the zither, and immediately, waves of crisp and pleasant music rang out. It was like a stream, a small bridge, and flowing water. It revealed a unique feeling of freedom and boundless sea and sky. Rumble. At this moment, the entire demon court suddenly shook violently, as if it had encountered a huge accident. Hey! What's going on? Could it be that another primordial godfiend has come to attack our demon court? Even though this wave of tremors only lasted for an instant before the entire demon court stopped, it still caused many cultivators and demons to feel a wave of bewilderment and uncertainty. Now, they all realized that the chaos was not a place of treasure. It was also filled with countless dangers. Ding dong! The zither music stopped, and Di suddenly stood up. His body swayed, and he immediately appeared above the southern heaven gate with Chen Shi, Diu and the others. They quickly scanned the chaos outside. "It's not a primordial godfiend." Di immediately realized that it was not a primordial godfiend chasing after them. Instead, it seemed like they had entered a strange forbidden zone. "Husband, this is one of the forbidden zones of chaos that my Shin told you about, the 5 hells demonic domain. I didn't think that we would encounter it." My Shin's expression changed slightly, and she muttered, "Rumble." The scene in front of them was completely different from the chaos before. There were all kinds of terrifying abnormalities, and they had already fallen into a terrifying forbidden zone. What they saw was a terrifying forbidden zone. The entire forbidden zone was clearly divided into 5 different regions: earth, fire, water, wind, and lightning. They were divided into 5 regions, and this one was like an independent world, an independent heaven and earth. This world was like a cake that had been cut into 5 pieces. In each region, there was a vast divine mountain that soared into the sky, and it was at least tens of millions of feet tall. The divine mountains were also different. Of the 5 regions, one was filled with boundless primordial divine flames. This flame was extremely domineering, and it had an unparalleled destructive power that seemed to be able to incinerate all things. In the center of this fire region, there was a divine mountain that was filled with blazing divine flames. The flames were black. In another region, there was a torrential flood that was constantly surging, and huge waves were surging. Vaguely, there was a strange black chi that permeated the air. The water was also black. In another region, there was an extremely terrifying sea, and in this water region, there was a huge divine mountain that soared into the sky. The strange thing was that the main body of this divine mountain was black ice crystals, but the surface was filled with black water that went against the laws of heaven and earth, and it was constantly washing and flowing from the bottom to the top. It emitted a terrifying aura. In one place, there were countless mountains of various sizes. There were sharp spikes on the ground, and terrifying swamps would appear from time to time, swallowing everything. There was a huge divine mountain that pierced through the clouds, as if it was formed by spikes. It gave off an incomparably heavy aura of the earth, and was abnormally terrifying. Just its aura alone could make an almighty bend over. In another region, there were all kinds of strange winds. There were yin winds, 9 truths true wind, hurricanes, astral winds, heavenly winds, icy winds, and so on. They were all different, and they swept wildly in the vast wind region. In the center, there was also a divine mountain that was suppressing. However, this divine mountain was also strange. There were strange holes all over it, and from these holes, there were constantly sharp whistling sounds of wind, and different strange winds blew out of nowhere. In another region, there was endless thunder and lightning. There were many kinds of thunder and lightning, and each of them was filled with terrifying destructive power. They carried the aura of primordial chaos, and they were filled with destructive power. A purple divine mountain suppressed all directions, and on top of it, there was incredible divine thunder that was constantly being destroyed and brewing. 5 divine mountains, suppressing the 5 extremes. In the center of these 5 regions, there was a strange divine pool. This divine pool showed 5 colors, and it flashed with all kinds of strange scenes from time to time. This is the 5 hell demonic region of the 9 great forbidden areas. It is indeed terrifying. Every region where the divine mountains are located has a terrifying destructive power that can obliterate an almighty. I didn't expect to enter such a dangerous place unintentionally. After Sakra took in the surrounding scene in his eyes, he couldn't help but be alarmed in his heart. The 5 hell demonic region existed in the chaos, and it was constantly drifting. There was no way to identify it with ordinary methods. Only by entering it could one see its true appearance. It was said that such a forbidden area was a strange forbidden area that was formed from the chaos after the chaos riots. After it was destroyed by the earth, fire, water, wind, life, and death, the remaining 5 destructive forces gathered together to form a strange forbidden area. After it was formed, it could continuously absorb the chaos aura to strengthen itself. It was extremely terrifying. Fortunately, my husband, you immediately stopped the demon court from going deeper into the 5 hell demonic region. Otherwise, it would definitely alarm the 5 divine mountains, and they would eventually launch a thunderous attack on the demon court. After forming a killing formation, it would be extremely difficult to leave. Fortunately, we are now only at the edge of the demonic region. It is not difficult to leave. My Shin seemed to be very lucky. What a great place to bury bones. However, an inexplicable sentence suddenly burst out from Sakra's mouth. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chijien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1162. Those who have tickets, please help me. Husband, do you want to? Hearing this, Mai Shin's expression changed slightly. She looked at Di Shitian in surprise, as if she had sensed something. Although I don't know the real situation in the chaos world, primordial godfiends are considered supreme existences in the chaos. The Octopus Emperor's cultivation is profound. Although he died at my hands, the Slaughter Dao Lord he mentioned in the end is also a fierce primordial god in the chaos. If such a fierce primordial godfiend wants to find the demon court, even if it's difficult, it's definitely not impossible. I predict that the Slaughter Dao Lord must be on the way to catch up with us. Wisps of wisdom flashed in Di Shitian's eyes from time to time. Every word he said was reasonable. He continued, originally, I planned to block soldiers with arms and water with an earth weir. However, since we've run into one of the 9 forbidden zones of the chaotic world, it's God's help. I'd like to see who dares to chase us here. I'll dig a hole here and bury them. His voice was filled with endless decisiveness and coldness. That's right, husband. We've just entered the chaotic world. Since the primordial godfiends are the most powerful beings in the chaotic world, we can't be bullied. If one comes, we'll kill one. If 2 come, we'll bury 2. We really have to kill one to warn the others. Chen Shi stood beside Di Shitian. The demeanor of the demon empress grew stronger and more majestic. At this moment, she said with a murderous look. Her aura fluctuated. One could vaguely sense that her cultivation had reached the peak of the ancient heavenly demon realm. She was only one step away from the ancient demon god realm. With all kinds of resources, her cultivation speed was very fast. She was the most powerful person in the southern barbarian lands. How could her talent be ordinary? The demon kings of the southern barbarian lands were all outstanding. They had enough experience. At this moment, they were all in seclusion in the demon court and were improving rapidly. Each of them was unstoppable. Di Yang and Di Yuer stood beside Di Shitian. They listened to the words of Di Shitian and the others and secretly understood the deeper meaning. This was also a form of teaching by example. My husband's thoughts are reasonable. However, the Five Hells demonic region is a dangerous place in the primal chaos. Don't be fooled by the fact that it's quiet now. Once you touch it, you'll immediately suffer a terrible fate. Any one of the Five Hells demonic region is capable of obliterating even a half-step sovereign would have to be careful. Even if we are here, we won't be able to take half a step forward and control this infernal domain. Mai Xin shook her head. If she still had the strength of the demon lord, the Five Hell demonic region wouldn't have been able to do anything to her. She could have forcibly taken it away. But now, it was obvious that he could not act rashly. Di Shitian was obviously prepared for this. He reached out and grabbed at the air in the demon court. Immediately, he saw 5 ancient octopuses that were hundreds of thousands of feet long appear in front of him. These ancient octopuses were all sealed in ice. He tossed one of them into the Inferno prison. Ah, where is this? Kill. I want to avenge the Octopus Emperor. When the ancient octopus was tossed out, the ice seal on its body was instantly removed. As soon as it woke up, it immediately clamored to avenge the Octopus Emperor. These ancient octopuses could be said to be a race created by the Octopus Emperor. Naturally, they were loyal. However, before the ancient octopus could move, the black flames wrapped around its body and drilled into its body. Even its defensive shield was burned out. In the blink of an eye, this unparalleled octopus was burned to ashes. Not even dregs were left. Seeing this, the demon court spectators were shocked. Di Shitian tossed another ancient octopus into the Black Sea. As soon as it fell, the octopus didn't even have time to scream before its entire body quickly sank into the black water. Its flesh, blood, and bones turned into a pool of blood at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it was swallowed by the black water and turned into nothingness. What a poisonous water! Kotomi's beautiful eyes couldn't help but shrink slightly as she slowly spat out a sentence. Another ancient octopus was tossed into the area full of stone spikes. Immediately, countless spikes madly emerged from the ground. They were abnormally sharp and easily pierced countless holes in the ancient octopus's godfiend body. After falling into the swamp, it disappeared in the blink of an eye. It couldn't be more dead. Another ancient octopus was tossed into the wind region. As soon as it entered, a gust of wind blew over. Immediately, the octopus's flesh and blood were blown off inch by the strange wind. Its bones and flesh were separated from its body. In the blink of an eye, it was blown away. When the last ancient octopus was sent into the lightning region, it immediately attracted lightning. Countless lightning bolts swept over crazily and drowned it like raindrops. When it calmed down, there was no trace of it left. It's really terrifying. The disasters born from the primal chaos are even more dangerous than those on the purple gold continent. One careless mistake could lead to death. Di Shitian continued to test it and had a certain understanding of the Five Hells demonic domain. It was worthy of being called a dangerous place. Even half-step sovereigns would face the danger of dying in such a dangerous place. That was just the outer perimeter. If the 5 demonic peaks attacked, it would be the real annihilation. If one wanted to use such a dangerous place, even half-step sovereigns would be helpless. It's a pity that all of my supreme treasures are in Shishin's hands. Otherwise, I might be able to refine this dangerous place. Shishin shook her head slightly and sighed. It's fine. The 5 Hells demonic domain can't stop me. If I don't dig a hole here and bury a bunch of ancient godfiends, the primal chaos won't know of my emperor's might. Di Shitian saw the terrifying destructive power of the dangerous place in front of him. However, he didn't have the slightest intention of retreating. Whoosh! A light flashed in his hand, and a scroll appeared in front of him out of thin air. The scroll unfurled, and a lifelike picture appeared in front of him. There were mountains and rivers, rolling mountains, vast oceans, and countless birds and beasts that were full of vitality. There were flowers and plants, birds and insects, and even mountains and rivers, and the sun, moon, and stars. It showed the scenery of mountains and rivers. It was a supreme treasure that he had taken from true Lord Ku Rong. It had endless magical uses. Map of mountains and rivers, devour the 5 hells demonic domain and seal the primal chaos. Di Shitian tossed the map of mountains and rivers into the void. Immediately, a mysterious aura flickered within the ancient diagram. In an instant, it began to expand at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it covered the entire 5 hells demonic domain. The entire ancient picture quickly pressed down on the demonic domain as if it wanted to suck the entire demonic domain into the picture. Rumble. The movement of the ancient map had alarmed the entire 5 hell demon domain. Countless primordial ominous flames turned into black dragons, hurricanes, stone spears, monstrous thunderbolts, and ferocious floods soared into the sky and bombarded the ancient map in a frenzy. It seemed as if the ancient map was going to be torn into pieces. However, the map of mountains and rivers was strange. It was a unique treasure that had been passed down from the tomb of the god of sin. It had incredible power. As soon as those ferocious attacks touched the ancient picture, ripples appeared on the surface of the picture. Not only did they not destroy the picture, but they also blasted into the picture. Before they could wreak havoc, they were sealed in the picture in the blink of an eye and couldn't cause any damage. It was as if the ancient picture was just a void. No attacks could hurt it. The map of mountains and rivers shook slightly and immediately, the earth, fire, water, wind, and thunder that were sucked into it were all shattered into pieces. They were annihilated. Whoosh! Without any hesitation, the map of mountains and rivers swooped down, not giving the 5 hells demonic domain any chance to react. It was sucked into the ancient picture. For a moment, the entire 5 hells demonic domain and the demon court were sucked into the ancient picture. One could clearly see that there were 5 demonic peaks in the map of mountains and rivers. When the demonic peaks fell into the picture, they were eroded by some incredible power. In the blink of an eye, they seemed to have merged perfectly with the ancient picture and were refined by the map of mountains and rivers. They became a part of the scenery in the ancient picture. There was no difference anymore. What is this ancient picture? After the map of mountains and rivers completely refined the 5 hells demonic domain, it immediately unfolded and reappeared in the chaos. The ancient picture merged perfectly with the chaos around it. Only the 5 hells demonic domain appeared. It was almost the same as before. It looked very strange. Mai Xin's eyes were filled with astonishment. Now the 5 hells demonic domain has merged with the map of mountains and rivers and become a part of the ancient picture. This is the best place to bury the primordial gods and demons. Di Shitian drove the demon court directly to the strange demonic pool in the center of the 5 hells demonic domain. They shuttled through the boundless flames, but the flames strangely separated into 2 sides and did not cause any damage to the ancient city. In the blink of an eye, they appeared in the center. Blood Dove. Di Shitian called out. Your humble servant is here. Blood Dove quickly came in front of him and answered respectfully. Lead the blood-killing guards into the 5 hells demonic domain and set up the ultimate emperor immortal formation. Lie in wait for the primordial gods and demons to arrive and then wait for an opportunity to kill them. Di Shitian ordered coldly. Yes, Your Majesty. Blood Dove did not hesitate and quickly led the blood-killing guards into the demonic domain. As soon as they entered, they seemed to be protected by something and were not attacked by the demonic domain at all. They quickly hid in various places. They did not leave any trace. The demon court also quietly disappeared into the void and disappeared. Even when using divine will to search, he could not find anything. Vaguely, this place was no different from the ordinary 5 hells demonic domain. Rumble. At this moment, somewhere in the chaos not too far away from the demon court. The blood-red warship was riding the wind and breaking the waves at an astonishing speed and flying forward crazily. It was like a terrifying killing sword that split the chaos apart. Its speed was extremely fast. Tao, Lord of Slaughter, who was sitting on the warship, had his blood-red demonic hair fluttering in the wind. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1163. Good. The murderer who killed Paul has actually stopped. Could it be that he has noticed something? However, so what if he was aware of it? Any conspiracy would be reduced to nothingness under his slaughter battle sword. No matter how many schemes you have, I will break them all with one sword. Slaughter Dao Monarch sensed that the demon court, which had been moving continuously, had suddenly stopped for some reason. It was as if it had temporarily stopped and did not intend to move. A cold thought flashed through his mind. He was not arrogant enough to think that he could hide from an expert who could kill Paul the Octopus Emperor. To survive in the chaos, there was an iron law that all primordial godfiends knew. That was, do not measure any opponent with the mindset of an idiot. Otherwise, the idiot would be himself. However, Slaughter Dao Monarch was skilled and bold. Conspiracy? He had faced plenty of conspiracies. However, any conspiracy was nothing in the face of absolute power. Countless experts had fallen under his sword, and even their souls had become a part of the warship. It's better that you stop. I don't have to waste my energy chasing after you. Slaughter Dao Monarch did not care too much. He continued to activate the slaughter warship and flew wildly toward the demon court. It was so fast that it had reached the limit of the warship. At this moment, in the origin world, in the purple gold continent, in the heaven realm, in a certain void, in a gorgeous, dignified, and sacred pantheon palace, the mighty figures sat on their own thrones. Every seat represented a great power in this place. At this moment, there were quite a number of mighty figures in the palace. There were close to 100 of them. However, each of their faces was naturally shrouded in a layer of fog, preventing others from seeing each other's true faces. The Shifter Emperor acted recklessly. Not only did he kill the 9 mighty figures of the human race, but he also forcefully took away one of the 10 supreme artifacts, the heavenly cycle star map. Now that it has been confirmed that he has left the origin world and entered the chaos, I believe that the Shifter Emperor must pay the price for his actions. We should issue a shifter execution order to encircle and annihilate all the remaining shifter race in the myriad worlds. We would rather kill the wrong person than let him go. We must let the Shifter Emperor know that the consequences of offending us humans are not something he can afford. A powerful being exuding a gloomy aura snorted coldly. Damn it, the Shifter Emperor is too ruthless. He even dared to plunder the heavenly cycle star map of the human race, ruining our grand plan. He is unforgivable and must be taught a lesson. If we don't do anything even when the divine item is stolen, it will show that we are too weak and easy to bully. I also believe that it is necessary to issue the demon slaying order. A female mighty figure also nodded slightly and agreed without hiding anything. Good. The demon slaying order must be issued. It just so happens that the peerless geniuses that we sent into the immortal demon battlefield to train are almost done. There's not much time left before the arrival of the annihilation tide. It's time to reveal the hidden strength one by one and let these juniors become famous. Leave the matter of slaying demons to these juniors. Another mighty figure immediately added. None of them objected to the issuance of the demon slaying order. Now that the demon emperor of the demon race had left, the remaining demon race members could be said to be the kind of people who were not close to their parents and were not loved by their uncles. Killing them would serve as a warning to the rest. He was trying to salvage his reputation. I've gathered all of you here this time because the final location of that item has been confirmed. At this moment, a mighty figure sitting at the front suddenly spoke. What? Found it. Where is it? Almost instantly, all the powerful figures in the Pantheon Temple could not help but tremble violently as they asked in a hurried tone. Their eyes shone with a bright light. Lost abyss. The leader of the mighty figures took a deep breath and slowly spat out these 4 words. Hiss. Almost at the same time as these 4 words were spoken, the originally excited great ability users couldn't help but gasp. They could feel that there was a faint trace of cold air flowing through the entire hall. It's actually in the lost abyss. An elder turned around after a long while and sighed in disbelief. There's no need to despair. It's not that there's no hope of retrieving that item. In fact, back then, the ancestors of the human race had already guessed that the item might be in the lost abyss, so they had already made preparations. Even if we enter the lost abyss, we may not be afraid. The leader of the mighty figures said calmly. Made preparations? Could it be? In an instant, the eyes of everyone in the hall lit up as if they had thought of something. The confidence in their hearts suddenly became extremely strong, as if they were quite confident. But now that one of the divine artifacts that we've forged over the years is missing, I'm afraid it'll be a little troublesome. In the main hall, there was a constant exchange of words, and the sound of discussion could be heard. Every one of them spoke of great importance to the lost abyss. In the source world, there were 9 great forbidden lands. Each of them could be said to be the most terrifying, ominous lands, where all life would enter. The lost abyss was one of the 9 great forbidden lands. Moreover, it was said to be one of the top 3 ominous lands. There were even rumors that it was not an exaggeration to say that it was ranked first. It was said that not even the sovereigns were willing to casually step into the lost abyss. It was a strange place. No one knew exactly how deep the abyss was or how it was formed. However, there was a type of terrifying lost energy within the abyss, and once one entered it, one would unnaturally lose one's sense of direction. One might even lose one's memories. Furthermore, flying in the lost abyss was extremely difficult, and one could fall at any time. Perhaps, after entering the abyss, one would never be able to climb out again. This point had been verified by countless experts. There was no way to fly in the abyss, and no one knew how deep the abyss was. Once one fell in, could one really climb out from the bottom of the abyss? That was not the most frightening thing. It was said that if one stayed in the lost abyss for too long, they would lose themselves. They would become walking corpses. There were also countless spatial rifts and endless planes. Wait a minute, there was boundless danger. However, almost no one who could truly enter the depths had ever returned alive. Even the most powerful of almighty figures would pale at the mere mention of the lost abyss. 3 days later, no one noticed that beneath the calm exterior, something had happened. More than half of the almighty figures of the human race had mysteriously disappeared, as if they had vanished in a single day. At the same time, a monster execution order was issued. At the same time, a large number of peerless geniuses appeared. In the blink of an eye, a storm swept through the entire world like a tide, causing countless races to jump up in shock. The monster race should be executed. They should have fallen in the ancient times. Now, it's the world of the human race. Even if a monster emperor appeared, he wouldn't be able to stir up any waves. In the end, he still fled into the chaos with his tail between his legs. After chasing away the monster emperor, we'll kill the remnants of the monster race and wipe out the monster race. You monster race were originally going to lie on the ground and be slaughtered by us. If you want to jump up, we'll slaughter you today. A rumor spread among the human race. It was said that a large number of peerless geniuses had appeared in the human race, and they were going to travel the heavens and erase all the monster race. Whoever dares to encircle and annihilate the monster race is an enemy of the dragon race. The dragon race will kill the culprit. Whoever dares to kill the monster race, the dragon race will slaughter the human race. In the ancient times, the human race was just a traitor who grew up under the wings of the monster race. What right do you have to be arrogant? In the 4 seas, the dragon race issued a domineering declaration to the world. Back then, the dragon race was also a royal family that belonged to the monster race. Although they were separated now, the bloodline connection could not be severed. The monster-slaying order angered the entire dragon race on the spot. Countless dragon race members were shouting, "If you dare to kill the monster race, you will be an enemy of the phoenix race." Back then, The Phoenix race was born in the monster race. The monster slaying order. Are you going to kill the Phoenix race? You humans are just traitors to the monster race. What right do you have? On Phoenix Island, the Phoenix race's declaration came from the undying volcano. It even directly pointed out the identity of the human race back then. This was a traitor to the master. Offending the master. The Chilean race will go to the human race. The Chilean race did not fall behind and also made a declaration. Chimph, you humans can try. I'll drown your heaven realm. You only dare to do such a despicable thing when the monster emperor is temporarily away. If you dare to issue the monster slaying order when the monster emperor is still around, you can try. The black tortoise race cursed angrily. It was as if they were pointing at the nose of the human race and jumping up and down. Are the dragon race, the Phoenix race, the Chilean race, and the black tortoise race trying to provoke the human race? The human race is not afraid of you. Today, the monster race will be killed. Whoever dares to help the monster race will be the enemy of the human race. Do the four races want to return to the monster race? The human race did not hold back any longer and immediately began to counterattack. Faintly, there was a strong sense of threat. Almost on the spot, the entire world was filled with an aura of mutual hostility. A tense atmosphere was constantly rising, as if a fight was about to break out at any moment. Under such circumstances, countless gazes were attracted to this matter. Rumble. In the chaos, the demon court no longer moved. It was motionless. It was naturally a little easy to chase after it. A blood-colored battleship crashed into the chaos in front of it out of thin air. It collided with the chaos aura, but in an instant, the entire battleship suddenly drilled into an inexplicable place. It was suddenly different from the chaos that was the same. The scenery in front of him changed. He entered a vast area. In the blink of an eye, there was no time to react. Ancient stone spears shot out from the ground like raindrops, one after another, like bolts of lightning. With endless sharpness, they bombarded the blood-colored battleship domineeringly. It looked like they wanted to blast the battleship into a hedgehog. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chijien. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1164. I don't have many recommendation votes, please help me. Each of the stone spears could pierce through the anus of an almighty. Now, the entire blood-red battleship was under attack in an instant. They bombarded the battleship. Kill. 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 Although the slaughtering battleship was caught unprepared, it was still extraordinarily powerful and ferocious. Feeling the terrifying attack sweeping towards it, 9 blood-red slaughtering rings emerged from the slaughtering battleship, one after another, protecting the slaughtering battleship in the middle of the blood-red rings. Within the blood-red rings, countless living beings could be seen shouting and killing, their faces filled with madness. The blood-red rings were so condensed that they were almost solid. Rumble. Countless stone spears bombarded the blood-red rings. Within the blood-red rings, terrifying killing power burst forth. Sword light and saber light bombarded the stone spears crazily. However, each of the stone spears was extremely terrifying. Both of them possessed a terrifying destructive power that rivaled that of the world. Although the massacre rings were unusually domineering and terrifying, they had unparalleled power. Some of the stone spears were shattered into powder. Even so, countless cracks still appeared on it under the attacks, and it was instantly reduced to dust. The earth-shattering stone spears broke through 3 layers of the blood ring of massacre before they were all shattered by the 4th blood ring. In the massacre battleship, every inch of the battleship is the crew of the battleship. Anyone who wants to attack the battleship will be judged and killed. As long as the battleship is not destroyed, the crew will not die. Rumble. Just as the battleship was under attack, cold primordial divine demons crawled out of the battleship from the massacre scrolls that appeared on the battleship. All of them were divine souls and their physical bodies no longer existed. In fact, it was not that they did not exist, but they were used to refine the battleship. It was no exaggeration to say that the battleship was originally their bodies. The primordial divine demons appeared one after another, their expressions cold. They quickly appeared at various posts, especially in front of the blood-red battle cannons. They directly controlled the cannons to reveal their cold muzzles to the outside. The battle cannons were called massacre cannons, and they were refined with strange primordial seals. If the cannons were to hit the body, they would immediately be subjected to a terrifying attack. It was exceptionally terrifying. As soon as these primordial godfiends were awakened, the entire battleship immediately became as sharp as an unsheathed sword. 5 Hell Demonic Domain. Tao Lord Massacre sat at the highest level without moving. He merely looked at the scene outside, and a cold glint flashed through his eyes as he said coldly, "What a monster." To think that he would hide in this chaos-forbidden zone. No wonder he didn't continue fleeing. So, he wanted to make use of this danger zone to deal with me. However, I won't fall for your trick. As long as I don't go near the 5 demonic peaks, this demonic domain won't be able to do anything to me. Ivildor, come out. A cold and angry roar spread throughout the entire demon domain. Rumble. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he saw the vast demonic mountain in the center of the Earth region suddenly rise from the ground. When the demonic peak, which was even bigger than the slaughtering battleship, rose into the air, the surrounding ground shook violently. It was as though Mount Tai was pressing down on the slaughtering battleship. How is it possible for the 5 Hell demonic peaks to attack without triggering anything? Could it be that the monster has refined the entire 5 Hell demonic peaks? Impossible. When Tao Lord Massacre saw the Earth Prison peak rise into the air inexplicably, he stood up abruptly. There was no longer any calmness on his face. An unbelievable guess flashed through his mind. All fiend gods, get ready. Aim the 36 million Godslaughter cannons at Earth Prison Peak and blast it to smithereens. Don't hold back. No one can stop me, Tao Lord Massacre. Kill. Tao Lord Massacre took a deep breath. His eyes were abnormally deep and revealed traces of cold killing intent. Bang, bang, bang. The heavenly slaughter cannons were also 3 consecutive cannons with 3 barrels connected together. At this moment, without any hesitation, the 36 million heavenly slaughter cannons immediately aimed their muzzles at the incomparably huge Earth Prison Peak. There was no need to lock on and aim at all. Almost every shot was accurate. All the cannons roared at once. A blood-red cannon light was accompanied by countless terrifying sounds of killing. Each of these beams of light was like a pillar of blood that reached the heavens. Furthermore, these beams of light were all in the shape of a spiral. Countless sabers condensed within the beams of light, and as they rotated, they cut the void into pieces. If they landed on the body, they would be cut into thousands of pieces. Every single one of them carried the most terrifying killing power. Rumble. The power of these cannon lights had reached an unbelievable level. When they landed on the Earth Prison Peak, countless terrifying swamps appeared on the Earth Prison Peak and swallowed the cannon lights. Countless stone soldiers, stone swords, and stone spears met the cannon lights and smashed them into pieces. At the same time, the number of heavenly slaughter cannons was too terrifying. There were tens of millions of them. The power of each cannon light was comparable to that of a half-step sovereign. Under the concentrated cannon light, the sturdy earthen prison peak continued to crumble, with countless cracks appearing on its surface. Such a concentrated attack was simply too terrifying. However, while the Earth Prison Peak was enduring the torrential cannon fire, the fire prison peak that was emitting black flames also soared into the sky. Within the mountain peak, countless black flames condensed into countless pitch-black ferocious dragons and countless pitch-black fire crows as they let out earth-shaking roars. At the same time, they pressed down on the slaughter warship. Countless black dragons and fire crows covered the sky and the earth as they attacked the warship. Although most of them were smashed into pieces by the cannon light, there were still many that rushed to the warship and bombarded the slaughter blood ring. It produced a terrifying destructive power. A slaughtering blood ring was burned to ashes. The destructive power of the primordial flames was unquestionable. Woo! 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 The wind prison peak rose from the ground amidst a series of roars. From the countless holes on the demonic peak, There were bursts of wind whistling sounds. Waves of destructive demonic wind swept across the sky like tidal waves, causing the sky to turn dark. Countless sharp wind blades cut through the void. Innumerable chilly winds blew against the bones and could blow away the divine soul. It could blow bones into pieces. The pitch-black water prison peak soared into the sky, and a torrential black flood with terrifying poison and corrosive power poured down in an unstoppable manner. The lightning prison peak swept over, and the sky was filled with thunderbolts that formed lightning soldiers and generals, sweeping over like an army. In the blink of an eye, the 5 demonic peaks completely surrounded the slaughter warship, suppressing the warship from all directions. Countless terrifying attacks covered the sky and the earth. In an instant, the slaughter warship was drowned in countless attacks. Countless cannon light was still crazily bombarding. The scene of doomsday appeared everywhere. It was abnormally terrifying. Rumble. Once the 5 Hells demonic domain erupted, it immediately emerged from its concealed state and appeared in the entire chaotic world. Sakura did not deliberately conceal this point in the painting of rivers and mountains. However, he did not reveal the mountain and country painting, but only the 5 Hell demonic territory. That terrifying scene also caused terrifying roars to be heard in the chaotic world. The chaotic world in the surroundings was tumbling violently. At the same time, the primordial godfiends that were following behind the slaughter warship from all directions in the chaotic world arrived one after another. The first to arrive was a huge island. In the sky above the island, an old man was watching the intense battle that was happening in front of him with shining eyes. He was full of excitement, and his eyebrows were twitching from time to time. He shouted strangely, "Haha, it's the 5 Hell demonic territory in the chaotic forbidden zone. I didn't expect Slaughter Dao Lord to fall into such a trap. However, the person who set the trap is indeed brilliant. However, he is also unbelievably strong to be able to set a trap in such a dangerous place. From the looks of it, he seems to have directly refined the entire demonic territory. Slaughter Dao Lord, let's see how you can be so arrogant this time." The old man let out a hearty laugh filled with joy. However, he also stopped outside the 5 Hell demonic territory, not daring to enter rashly. Who knew if he would be attacked by the enemy once he entered? What a guy! Dao Lord Massacre is one of the top 10 supreme experts on the investiture of the gods in the supreme god domain. He's only one step away from becoming an immemorial supreme. His combat strength has already reached an unbelievable level. I wonder who's the one who set him up. How could they be so daring as to set him up and kill him? A ferocious god, not an ordinary ferocious god. Another primordial godfiend rushed over. This was a young-looking godfiend, standing on a huge gourd. He was watching the scene in the 5 Hell demonic territory with interest. It is said that a mighty figure in the sovereign god domain has used a supreme divine ability to forcibly extract a trace of the remnant flesh and aura of the primordial octopus from the place where the fierce battle took place. Using a supreme divine ability, he deduced that the one who killed the octopus emperor was not a godfiend of the chaos, but an expert from the origin world. Moreover, according to the information provided by an expert from the origin world, it is said that the monster emperor of the monster race who dominated the world and almost swept through the chaos. His name is Di Shitian, and his experiences are legendary. His battle strength is heaven-defying. He was someone who feared neither the heavens nor the earth, and was almost invincible. Back then, the octopus emperor must have bullied him when he first entered the chaos and wanted to plunder him. It was because he was angry that he was met with misfortune. At this time, a man dressed in beast skin, with strong muscles all over his body, exuded a barbaric aura. He held a huge battle axe in his hand and walked over quickly. Every step he took seemed to shrink the distance to an inch. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of them. He seemed to be quite bold. He laughed and spat out a sentence. TSK, the origin world has always been a fat piece of meat, but it is also a hard bone to chew. It has produced 3 sovereigns, and all of them have divine tombs. Their battle strength is tyrannical, and the primordial monster race is incomparably strong. They are really not afraid of death. I remember that in the ancient times, More than 200 primordial monster gods of the monster race rushed out of the origin world and entered the chaos to fight with us primordial godfiends. I will never forget their ferocity. Otherwise, we primordial godfiends would have dared to intervene when the 9 great demon ancestors joined forces with us to attack the origin world. At this time, another primordial godfiend with an evil aura came through the air. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidyen.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1165. Rumble. This was a gigantic chariot pulled by 9 black dragons. The chariot was incomparably large and was covered by a curtain. However, as the curtain fluttered in the wind, one could faintly see a handsome young man with his naked body doing all sorts of unsightly things with a group of women. It was extremely erotic. The scene was unbearable to look at. Ancestor Joyful Concord, you actually came. The old man who arrived first saw this and couldn't help but reveal a trace of disgust. Hihi, if 5 elements ancestor can come, why can't I? If I didn't come, how would I be able to see such a good show? Ancestor Joyful Concord laughed strangely. He swept his eyes over the 5 hells' demonic domain and said with interest, the monster emperor of the monster race is fighting against Tao Monarch of Slaughter. It has been many years since such a wonderful thing happened in the primal chaos. I heard that in the quintessence world, the human race is reigning supreme. It is time for us primordial fiend gods to change the treaty we made with the monster race. We signed the treaty with the monster race, not the human race. The annihilation tide is coming again. Why don't we primordial fiend gods cooperate with the demon god continent and conquer the quintessence together? There seemed to be a profound meaning in his words. The primordial fiend gods of the monster race are not dead yet. If you violate the treaty and suffer misfortune, don't blame me for not warning you. The primordial fiend god in beastly clothes snorted. He swept a disdainful glance at Ancestor Joyful Concord. TSK, the other side of the treaty is only the monster race. As long as the monster emperor is killed, there is no monster race in this world that can oppose this ancestor. Ancestor Joyful Concord sneered and swept his cold gaze over the demon domain. When these words came out, the expressions of the surrounding primordial fiend gods changed slightly. The monster race of the ancient era was far from what ordinary people could estimate. In the ancient era, when they fought against the demon gods of the demon god continent, there were only a few dozen monster gods. This number of monster gods was not enough to dominate the ancient era and dominate the heavens. However, no race dared to question it. Why? The reason was that in ancient times, the demon clan did not only have a few dozen ancient demon gods. Instead, there were nearly 300 of them. The reason why there were only a few dozen left was because of this. This was because in ancient times, under the leadership of several Yarrow clan primogenitors, hundreds of ancient Yarrow gods had charged into the chaos. He had fought a bloody battle against the primordial fiend gods of the primordial chaos. The war back then was known as the Chaos Blood War. In that battle, a large number of primordial godfiends were killed, and countless races created by the primordial godfiends were destroyed. One bloody battle after another spread to almost every corner of the primal chaos. The ancient monster gods, millions of feet tall, fought against the primeval fiend gods. The chaos was in chaos. The aura of destruction filled every inch of the chaos. The ancient Fey gods that entered the chaos were all peak ancient Fey gods. When they fought, they were fearless. In almost every battle, a Fey god or primordial godfiend would perish. The chaos energy of that era was blood red in color. It was dyed red by the blood of countless Yarrow gods and fiend gods. In the end, the 3 rulers, several Yarrow clan primogenitors, and the 9 primordial supremes met and made an ancient treaty. The treaty stipulated that as long as the monster race did not attack, no primordial godfiend could attack them. Primordial godfiends were not allowed to enter the origin world at any time. Violators would be hunted down by the 3 rulers and the 9 primordial supremes. This treaty kept the entire chaos in check. It prevented the primordial god fiends of the chaos from allying with the demon god continent to attack the origin world. However, the price was that the hundreds of ancient monster gods that had fought in the chaos had all perished. It was extremely tragic. Many of the primordial god fiends of the chaos had been killed. However, the primordial god fiends had also added a clause to the end of the treaty. That was, if the origin world was under the control of the demon race, then the treaty would be valid. If the demon race did not control the origin world, then the treaty would be automatically nullified. It seemed that some of the primordial god fiends in the chaos were beginning to stir. Bam! 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 The attacks were endless. However, the massacre battleship was equally powerful. Countless blood-red cannon beams covered every inch of space and bombarded the 5 demonic peaks, preventing them from crushing the battleship directly. The battleship shook violently under the bombardment. However, the countless attacks from the 5 prison demonic peaks had also bombarded the battleship until it was on the verge of collapse. The massacre blood-red rings shattered one after another. Gusts of chilly wind swept past and swept up a group of primordial godfiends. They let out shrill cries as their bodies were blown to smithereens. Haha, great. The 5 prison demonic peaks are indeed powerful. Even a pinnacle supreme level massacre battleship could not contend against them. Let's see how the battleship can continue its rampage without its defenses. This hole is well dug. Bury them. Hidden in the void, Di Shitian and a large group of demon clan warriors watched the scene in front of them cautiously. Di Shitian stood on the Celestial Emperor's chariot with the silver-white demon slayer battle spear in his hand. He calmly watched the massacre battleship being besieged. However, Dark laughed heartily. The 5 prison demonic peaks can at most suppress the massacre battleship. However, it might not be able to stop Massacre Dao Lord. I can feel a monstrous killing energy from the battleship. Di Shitian was not optimistic at all. He calmly analyzed the battle situation in front of him. When Massacre Dao Lord charged into the demonic peaks, he had already vaguely sensed that this person would be the most terrifying enemy he had ever met in his life. That kind of intense dangerous aura almost made his hair stand on end. A mere 5 prison demonic peaks dares to kill me? Kill. At this moment, a blood-red light shot out from the eyes of Massacre Dao Lord, who was sitting on the 9th level. The blood-red massacre sword in his hand was unsheathed at an unbelievable speed with a twist of his wrist. Clang! A short and crisp sword hum was heard. A blood-red sword that was hundreds of thousands of feet long instantly appeared in front of the 5 prison demonic peaks and slashed at each of the demonic peaks in an unbelievable and strange trajectory. Crack! The blood-red sword was extremely terrifying. Every slash seemed to follow some kind of imperceptible pattern on the demonic peaks. It was just like the pattern of a tree. If it followed the pattern, it could easily split the tree. If it did not follow the pattern, it would take 2 or 3 times the effort to split the tree. 5 crisp sounds were heard. The 5 blood-red swords exploded with astonishing power and instantly split the demonic peaks into 2 halves. That method seemed to be unusually clean and efficient. The continuous attacks suddenly paused for a moment. However, the demonic peaks were even stranger. After being split, they faintly began to close together and were about to recombine into one. Bang! 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 Slaughter Dao Lord's gigantic fiend god body, which was millions of feet tall, stepped out of the slaughter battleship. Every step he took was accompanied by a blood-red sword light. The sword light brought about unparalleled speed. Every step he took could shatter the void. He was so fast that his entire body was like a battle sword that was thrusting out at an astonishing speed. His blood-red hair fluttered. The blood-red massacre sword in his hand was slanted to the side. Gusts of wind swept up his blood-red clothes and filled the air with a strong smell of blood. Demon Emperor, Di Shitian, if you have the guts, come out and fight me. You have the guts to kill Paul. Don't tell me you don't have the guts to face me. Massacre Dao Lord stepped into the void. The surrounding demonic regions were stirred up by him. Countless stone spears, wind blades, lightning bolts, and fierce flames swept towards him like a tide. Every attack was capable of annihilating the world. However, Massacre Dao Lord only waved the blood-red sword in his hand casually. Slash after slash, he shattered all the attacks. All kinds of attacks were reduced to dust. Every slash carried a kind of brilliance and beauty that was close to the Dao. If it was a person in front of him, they would probably be dead before they even realized it. This was the perfect art of killing. Massacre Dao Lord, if you want to avenge the Octopus Emperor, let's see if you have the ability. Roar! Roar! The vast and majestic demon court instantly emerged from its hiding place. At the same time, the primordial 9 dragons pulled the Celestial Emperor war chariot and charged towards Massacre Dao Lord. At this moment, the war chariot had become incomparably huge. Di Shitian's entire emperor body also instantly transformed into the same size as Massacre Dao Lord. He wore an emperor's crown and an emperor's robe. The majesty of an emperor swept out like a tide. He held the Demon Slayer war spear in his hand. The Celestial Emperor war chariot quickly tore through the air. He stared at Massacre Dao Lord as if he was inspecting his own people. You killed Paul. You deserve to die. Massacre Dao Lord glanced coldly at Di Shitian. He recognized him at a glance as the Demon Emperor who killed the Octopus Emperor. He spat out a cold sentence. Kill. Massacre Dao Lord did not say anything else. The massacre sword in his hand pierced straight towards Di Shitian's throat. Whoosh! An exceptionally condensed blood-colored sword light instantly pierced through the void. With an inconceivable speed, it rushed towards Di Shitian. Within the sword, there was an unparalleled killing power that shook the heavens. It was as if any power would be destroyed by the sword. The blood sword was unstoppable. Moreover, this sword was exceptionally fast. It was so fast that even an unparalleled expert would find it difficult to capture the trajectory of the sword light. It was as if the sword light was about to pierce through him in an instant. Pu. The Celestial Emperor canopy scattered countless rays of light to block the sword light. However, the blood sword easily pierced a hole through it. It did not even manage to stop it. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chijian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1166. Clang. The Slaughter Dao Lord's sword could destroy the heavens. The killing intent contained within was almost unstoppable. It instantly pierced through the Celestial Emperor's canopy and appeared in front of Di Shitian's throat. It was as if it was going to pierce a hole in his throat. However, Sakura remained standing on the war chariot from beginning to end. His feet didn't move in the slightest. With a twist of his wrist, the silver-white Demon Slayer war spear rose from bottom to top. It seemed to be moving slowly, but it was extremely fast and appeared in front of the blood-red sword light. It seemed like a casual block, but it directly shattered the blood-red sword light. Kill. The Dao Monarch of Massacre didn't seem to be surprised by this. He took a step forward and his entire body suddenly distorted as if he had disappeared. In the void to the left of the Sakura, a blood sword pierced towards his temple with an unparalleled will that wanted to slaughter all living beings. This sword came abruptly. It stabbed out from an unbelievably tricky angle. It embodied the word tricky to the extreme. At the same time, the blood-red sword stabbed out. The Demon Slayer battle spear in Di Shitian's hand jumped slightly. The silver-white battle spear attacked first, as if it had predicted the appearance of the blood-red sword. The tip of the spear and the sword collided fiercely. The two sharp forces collided, and the surrounding space cracked. The blood-red sword didn't pierce Di Shitian. It immediately retreated into the void. At the same time, it appeared again from an even more tricky angle. Clang! Clang! However, what was even stranger was that no matter how sharp, fast, or crafty the sword was, as soon as it appeared, a silver-white spear would appear at the tip of the sword. It clashed fiercely with the blood-red sword again and again. The speed of their exchange was almost inconceivable. From the outside world's perspective, In the blink of an eye, billions of blood-red swords outside the Celestial Emperor's chariot were stabbing toward Di Shitian's vital points at an incalculable speed. Each strike contained the essence of the Tao of killing and had reached the pinnacle of assassination. Every strike contained enough power to carve a hole in an ordinary half-step ruler's body. If the strike didn't hit, it would immediately disappear. The frequency of their attacks had reached an unfathomable level. But at the same time, Di Shitian stood alone on the war chariot. Countless Devil Slayer war spears appeared around him, blocking all the attacks. The brief exchange of blows seemed to be merely a test of each other's strength, but it was already so intense that it was hard for ordinary experts to imagine. All the spectators didn't even dare to blink, afraid that they would miss a single moment. Yang you must remember this day, and remember your father's battle. You have to understand that the reason you have your current status is not because you were born with a noble bloodline, but because your father fought for it with his blood and life time after time. While you enjoy your status, you have to ask yourself in your hearts whether you are qualified to enjoy this kind of honor. Remember this battle, and never forget it. Chen Shi stood in the void of the demon court with Di Yang and Di Yu'er and said solemnly. She wanted her children to understand how they had earned their status. Mother, we won't let you down. Di Yang and Di Yu'er's faces showed a different maturity when they heard that. They stared at the intense battle outside the demon court without blinking. At the same time, the primordial godfiends outside were secretly shocked when they saw this. TSK, Slaughter Dao Lord is indeed worthy of being one of the top 10 supreme experts in the Supreme Divine Realm's investiture of the gods. His battle strength and slaughter battle skills have already reached the realm of Dao. This void life-severing sword was worthy of being called the supreme assassination skill of the great Tao of slaughter. Once it was used, countless swords could be stabbed at an astonishing speed, each of which could take one's life. When Slaughter Dao Lord used it, its power was so great that ordinary half-step sovereigns would be pierced into a sieve. Patriarch Concord squinted his eyes and looked at the battlefield with a strange light in his eyes. In his heart, he asked himself if he was in Di Shitian's position, he might also be killed on the spot. According to the primordial divine master, Slaughter Dao Lord's assassination could make even primordial divine masters take it seriously. Wow, he's indeed the demon emperor from the crazy demon race. His cultivation is indeed at the half-step sovereign realm. Moreover, he's able to withstand Slaughter Dao Lord's attack without being at a disadvantage. Even the void-severing sword couldn't break his defense. Both of them are monstrous geniuses. They've only just tested each other and they've already reached such an intense stage. The burly man in the beast robe was shocked and couldn't help but exclaim in his heart. It's indeed an earth-shattering battle. I wonder who will remain standing in the end. Patriarch Five Elements murmured to himself. However, all the spectators felt a strong sense of fear towards the demon race again. They didn't expect that such an incredible expert would be born before the demon race fell behind. Clang, clang, clang. The fierce battle between Di Shitian and Slaughter Dao Lord almost reached the climax in an instant. There was only one feeling towards Slaughter Dao Lord's swordsmanship. Fast. It was unimaginably fast. Moreover, although the speed of the blood swords increased with each strike, they became even faster and more domineering and terrifying. The blood swords swept over at a speed that couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Under the attacks, Di Shitian was like a boulder facing a tsunami. He was in danger of being destroyed by the blood swords at any time. However, he remained standing. Nevertheless, Di Shitian's battle spear was always able to block the blood swords just before they were about to hit him. It only took an instant. They had already exchanged thousands of blows. Although each move was short, they were all fatal moves. No wonder you could kill Paul. You're indeed a peerless expert. It was unknown when, but the countless blood swords around Sakura had mysteriously disappeared. Dao Monarch of Massacre, who had disappeared, reappeared in front of the chariot. He glanced at Sakura coldly and said in a cold voice, "You're qualified to die under the Massacre Sword Codex that I created. I'll kill you in 10 moves." The vast emperor's will on Di Shitian's body surged like a tide. Wielding the Demon Slayer war spear in his hand, the way he looked at Tao Lord Massacre was like an emperor looking at a subject or an ant. There was an unparalleled certainty in his words, which brought a strong sense of confidence to all living beings in the world. If I say I'll kill you in 10 moves, I'll definitely do it in 10 moves. Uproar. As soon as these words were spoken, all the primordial godfiends outside felt a sense of absurdity in their hearts. Kill Tao Lord Slaughter in 10 moves. It might be believable if he said he could kill a peerless expert, but who was the person in front of them? That was Tao Lord Slaughter, an expert who was invincible among half-step rulers. He was only half a step away from becoming a primordial sovereign. Kill him? Even defeating him was an unbelievable thing, let alone killing him. Killing Tao Lord Slaughter in 10 moves? What a joke. An extremely preposterous joke. But this sentence, from Di Shitian's mouth, was said with incomparable certainty. Everyone could feel the confidence and determination in his voice. The monster emperor is too arrogant. Tao Monarch of Massacre is such an expert that even the primordial paragons wouldn't dare to humiliate him. Who does Sakura think he is? If he wants to kill him, he wants to kill him within 10 moves. What a joke. When Patriarch Concord heard this, he shook his head in disdain and laughed strangely. His eyes were filled with disdain. 10 moves. In 10 moves, His Majesty will definitely be able to kill Tao Lord Slaughter. However, when these words fell in the demon court, the eyes of countless monsters lit up at the same time. In their minds, fanatical faith and firm confidence appeared in their hearts. Their trust in the Shifter Emperor had almost reached a state of blindness. Take my life in 10 moves? How dare you? Tao Lord Slaughter was so angry that he laughed. A cold expression appeared at the corner of his mouth. The blood sword in his hand suddenly slashed at Di Shitian in a strange trajectory. In the sword, there was a monstrous will to kill. A terrifying will to kill the heavens, the earth, the gods, the demons, and the billions of living beings in the world burst out in an instant. Rumble. Above Tao Lord Slaughter's head, that monstrous killing intent condensed into a terrifying blood-colored vortex. In the vortex, countless souls let out shrill screams. Scenes of slaughter flashed through his mind. Slaughter Sword Codex, 1 kill in 10 step. The Slaughter War Sword slashed out towards Sakura. On the blood sword, a terrifying beam of sword light shot out. Within the beam of sword light, countless murderous divinities appeared, congregating around the blood sword. Each and every one of them wielded a slaughter sword as they rapidly stepped out. With every step they took, the killing intent they exuded grew even purer, condensing onto their swords. They were like heroes from ancient times. Accumulating power in 10 steps and slashing out with the sword, blood splattered in 5 steps. Corpses fell on the spot. This sword was heavy on momentum. Once it was unleashed, it was a sure-kill thunderous sword. Countless gods of slaughter gathered together, forming a torrent that condensed into a blood-colored killing sword. Countless strands of killing energy converged, and this sword carried with it a heaven-splitting, earth-shattering, god-slaying, demon-slaying aura. A boundless will crushed down. Under this killing sword, it could cause countless powerhouses to feel despair. This sword was swung by countless gods of slaughter at the same time, gathering endless killing intent. Kill. Roar. 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 The primordial 9 dragons showed no fear in the face of the terrifying blood-colored killing sword. At the same time, they let out dragon roars. Instead of retreating, they charged at Tao Lord Slaughter's war chariot. Rumble. 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 Di Shitian instantly raised the Demon Slayer war spear in his hand. The war spear emitted countless silver-white rays of light, and countless living beings sang the praises of the Demon Slayer war spear at the same time. The imperial indestructible true force in his body surged into the war spear like a tide. The spear domineeringly struck at the huge blood-colored killing sword. Rumble. The war spear and the blood-colored sword collided violently. In just an instant, the power that erupted from the war spear was shattered by the killing sword. The domineering killing intent was about to rush into the body of the war spear. However, the war spear did not stop. Borrowing the power of the blood-colored sword, it took the opportunity to retract the war spear. It struck out again. 9 Devil Slayer strikes. Second strike. Third strike. Fourth strike. The void shook, and the Devil Slayer war spear struck out 4 times in an instant. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chijien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1167. 9 Devil Slayer strikes, 9 consecutive strikes. Given Sakra's monstrous battle prowess as a half-step sovereign, when these 4 attacks were stacked together, the might contained within the battle spear had reached the sovereign realm. The silver spear didn't strike directly at the blood sword. Instead, it pierced toward the blood sword, which was 3 inches away from the sword. Clang! The blood sword seemed to have materialized. Countless gods of slaughter roared, killing 1 person in 10 steps. The supreme will of Unstoppable could destroy almost everything. However, Di Shitien's Devil Slayer war spear struck 3 inches from the blood sword. It was as if it had hit the 7th inch of a poisonous snake. It actually cut off the blood sword's endless power and Tao Lord of Slaughter's power. Rumble. The entire blood sword instantly collapsed, turning into countless gods of slaughter. They followed the Devil Slayer war spear and charged forward with an unstoppable momentum. The killing swords in their hands contained the power to shatter heaven and earth. They were the gods of slaughter. Anyone who was targeted by them would die under their swords. The killing intent was so substantial that one could see a sea of blood in the sky. However, before Xuelei could cover his ears, Di Shitien's wrist moved, and the entire war spear shook violently like a noodle. Every moment, there were billions of vibrations. All the gods of slaughter that followed the war spear were crushed to dust by the domineering Devil Slayer power. They were annihilated inch by inch. First move. Indra glanced coldly at Tao Monarch of Slaughter as he spoke in an unusually calm tone. You're courting death. Tao Lord of Slaughter's eyes suddenly became unusually cold and ruthless. There was a shocking killing intent in his heart that was growing and boiling crazily in his chest. His eyes had turned blood red. Di Shitien's words were clear that he really intended to kill him in 10 moves. Provocation. It was no ordinary provocation, it was a slap in the face. No matter who it was a great humiliation. Especially Tao Lord of Massacre, who could be considered an expert among the primordial fiend gods. If he was killed in 10 moves, his reputation would be thrown all the way to Hongmeng. He would die of shame. How could he not be angry? The Primeval fiend gods outside were in an uproar, their eyes glued to the battle before them. Slaughter Sword Codex, bloody slaughter. The killing intent in Slaughter Tao Lord's heart was like a sword, but he did not show any anger on his face. The killing power that had accumulated in his body for countless years continuously poured into the blood-colored battle sword in his hand, and he slashed out at Di Shitien. This sword almost covered the entire world in an instant, and there was no way to dodge it. Kill. 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 Killing 1 is a crime, killing 100 is a hero, killing millions is a hero. Killing millions is a hero among heroes. No matter how powerful an ambitious and ruthless person was, he could only be called an ambitious and ruthless person. Massacring a city or a country was nothing. However, the most terrifying slaughter was the slaughter of an entire world, the slaughter of all the worlds in the heavens. Inside the blood sword flashed many worlds full of vitality. Inside these worlds, billions of living beings were working hard, exuding vigorous vitality. However, the entire world was destroyed with a bang, and billions of living beings were instantly reduced to dust. A world was directly annihilated, and at the same time, the monstrous killing intent that was produced instantly condensed into a blood-colored killing sword. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of such killing swords appeared. Every single one of them unleashed all sorts of peerless killing moves. Whistling, they completely surrounded the void outside of Sakra Shitien's body. Every inch of his flesh and blood was under attack. Every sword could cut half-step sovereigns into pieces. It was as if thousands of half-step sovereigns were unleashing their most terrifying attacks on him in an instant. Father, be careful. When Diua saw this, she was shocked. Her little face instantly turned pale, and she cried out in a childish voice. Wherever I am, it is my territory. Everything in the world, the sun, the moon, and the universe revolves around me. I am the emperor. Any attack is an offense against me. All attacks are like floating clouds to me. When Diua saw the monstrous killing swords, he felt as if his entire mind was on a guillotine. An intense sense of danger constantly surged in him. Even the 9 primordial dragons were somewhat uneasy. However, he did not panic. He did not raise the demon slayer battle spear in his hand. Instead, the aura of an emperor surged from his body like smoke. Every single word that came out of his mouth was filled with the supreme power of the emperor, of the sovereign, of the supreme sovereign. However, in the emperor's body, where no one could see, the 129,600 Supreme Emperor indestructible emperor talismans began to madly revolve, emitting waves of supreme power that spread in all directions. The invisible power covered all the killing swords like a tide. In that instant, one could feel that all of the blood swords were like subjects facing their emperor. No matter how audacious or rebellious a subject was, the power in their body would disappear in front of the emperor slayer. They might not even be able to use 10% of their power. The killing swords in front of him were like subjects who wanted to kill their emperor. They were originally filled with killing intent, but now they were powerless. Even the bloody light on the swords became abnormally dim. Crack. When they landed 100 feet away from Diua, they were crushed by the natural pressure he exuded, turning into strands of killing intent that strangely dissipated. Second move. Diua looked at Tao Lord of Slaughter as if he was looking at his own subject. Great prophecy art? No, even Paul's great prophecy technique can't shake my slaughter sword codex. Tao Lord of Slaughter's pupils constricted when he saw his attack being destroyed so easily. This divine ability seemed to be the Octopus Emperor's great prophecy technique, but it seemed to be far more domineering than the great prophecy technique. Although he was shocked, the anger in his heart grew stronger. He shouted coldly, "My slaughter sword codex is getting stronger with each strike. Let's see how you block it." As he spoke, he raised the slaughter sword in his hand again. However, Diua snorted coldly and said, "Why should I block it? I said I'll kill you in 10 moves, so I'll kill you in 10 moves. If I make one more move, I'll take my head off and let you kick it like a ball." When he fought with Tao Lord of Slaughter, he had already planned to kill this primordial godfiend on the spot. He would devour and refine it to completely raise his cultivation base to the peak of the half-step sovereign realm. When that time came, with the power of dual cultivation with Bewitching Heart, he would have a 70% chance of breaking into the sovereign realm. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, 5 elements reincarnation. Diua once again exuded the Supreme Emperor's aura and spoke a mysterious Emperor's mantra. The divine ability of the Supreme Emperor's mantra was completely unleashed. Rumble. As Sakra's voice fell, 5 mysterious ancient words were condensed from his mouth. Each of them emitted a strong origin energy of the 5 elements. They were the 5 words of metal, wood, water, fire, earth. These 5 words quickly gathered together, and the 5 elements' origin energy in the surroundings surged over like a tide. In the blink of an eye, one could see a huge, almost solid, 5-colored wheel forming out of thin air. Once the wheel was formed, it immediately devoured a huge amount of chaotic aura from the void. It was like an incredible 5 elements divine king. It was incomparably huge and spun continuously. As it spun, the 5 elements' origin energy circulated endlessly, causing the surrounding void to distort and shatter. It was like a huge grindstone, grinding it into powder. It spun and rolled toward Tao Lord of Slaughter. Slaughter Sword Codex, Heaven Slaughtering Sword. The blood-red killing sword slashed towards the 5 elements plate that was crashing down. This sword dared to kill even the heavens. So what if it was the heavens? Even if it was the heavens, it would still kill it. That killing power was even more frightening. Rumble. The 5 elements origin wheel collided with the killing sword, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. Countless divine lights flashed continuously. After a moment of stalemate, the 5 elements origin wheel shattered on the spot, and the killing sword's power also dissipated. However, Di Shitian did not stop chanting the Supreme Emperor's mantra. Mantra after mantra filled with Emperor's mantra continued to be spoken. My will is the will of the heavens. The will of the heavens is like a blade, all living beings are like ants. Blade of the heavens, slay. My words are fate. Fate is like a lock. Today, you shall die. At this moment, Di Shitian was not stingy with his true force. Waves of Ultimate Emperor Indestructible True Force continuously activated the Supreme Emperor's mantra. They turned into terrifying attacks. They swept toward Dao Monarch Massacre. Now that the Supreme Emperor's mantra had been integrated with the Great Prophecy art, it had become even more domineering and terrifying. Every one of them could obliterate a half-step ruler. Dao Monarch Massacre, who had always advocated offense, was caught in wave after wave of attacks on the spot. Rumble. Under the countless attacks, Dao Monarch Massacre kept waving the sword in his hand. Streaks of blood-red sword light seemed to cut the void into countless pieces. Under the Supreme Emperor's mantra, even Dao Monarch Massacre was in an extremely difficult situation. He was even struck by a blade of time. His originally blood-red demonic hair turned snow-white. Di Shitian, the 3 words were practically squeezed out from the gaps between his teeth. The 9th move. Sakura still spat out a sentence unhurriedly. These words were like adding oil to the fire, causing Dao Monarch Massacre's anger to soar. It's already the 9th move. What a terrifying divine ability. It can actually fight Dao Monarch Massacre to such a state. What kind of divine ability is this? Even the Great Prophecy art isn't so domineering and terrifying. This is a direct order, and its power is even more shocking. Each one of them can obliterate a half-step ruler. However, Dao Monarch Massacre's Massacre Sword mantra is simply terrifying. Such an attack didn't cause much damage to him. He's only temporarily at a disadvantage. I'm afraid it's impossible to kill him in 10 moves. At this moment, Patriarch Concord no longer had a relaxed and playful expression on his face. After witnessing the terrifying power of the Supreme Emperor's mantra, he felt waves of coldness in his heart. 10 moves. The Shifter Emperor really intends to kill Dao Monarch Massacre in 10 moves. Although this divine ability is domineering, it's far from enough to obliterate Dao Monarch Massacre in 10 moves. Could it be that he still has some shocking trump card? The burly man exuding a barbaric aura was somewhat surprised. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,